Estate, the police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation and development on this story involving the Epstein files and all the allegations that have been swirling around about Andrew over the many years, from Virginia Giuffre, now sadly deceased, and since then, and certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files as released in the last few weeks. But the police have arrived at Sandringham Estate this morning, where Andrew has made his new home. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is. He has been arrested by the police. Of course, the brother of the current king, the second son of our late Queen Elizabeth. This is an extraordinary development. Those of us who've been talking an awful lot about establishment cover-ups and lack of, should we say, interest by the police in what are very, very serious allegations against Andrew. Perhaps pleased that that pressure has finally been put on the police, and they have done the job of actually looking into these issues seriously. Must bear in mind, of course, that the Prince has not been charged with any crime at this point, and he has always denied any wrongdoing in relation to any of the allegations about him. We'll give you more on that. We'll talk to you about that throughout the show, but I'm just being told that the arrest has been on suspicion of misconduct in public office. This, of course, relates to those Epstein file allegations and the documents that, if they are true, would suggest that he had, it is alleged, passed on basically what was confidential government information when he was the UK trade envoy for this country for 10 years to Jeffrey Epstein for Jeffrey Epstein's financial gain.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning to you. Just gone 6 o'clock. What is it? Thursday, March the 12th. You're very welcome to Talk Breakfast, the home, of course, of Common Sense and of Alarm Clock Brits. We'll get it all lined out for you. You can get involved. Thank you to Mark Dolan for the last couple of days. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think all of the blood has gone back into my alcohol stream after Cheltenham yet, but we're getting there. Amazing couple of days. But isn't it interesting to come back after 48 hours away from your studio to discover that yet again it's all about that plum that is supposed to be our Prime Minister? Yes, the clock is ticking on Keir Starmer. God, I wish you'd get around to a minute. It's official. He ignored the warnings this morning over Mandelson's relationship with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein before appointing him. All these files, the first batch were released yesterday, proving that he was told. Even Jonathan Powell, the National Security Advisor, said the speed with which you're doing this is a bit weird. People told him this is dangerous ground, and he went ahead. Reputational risk, that's what he was told. The close relationship that Mandelson had with Epstein could cause us problems. It's really simple. Anybody with a brain cell would have gone, don't touch Mandelson with a barge pole. What is a barge pole? We'll do that later. Why did he give him the job? Kemi Badenoch, straight out of the traps yesterday, couldn't agree with her more. She says, you know what, mate, you're not fit to lead the country. Have a listen.
For so long, the Prime Minister has tried to make this about Peter Mandelson's lies. What this shows is that it is Keir Starmer himself who has lied repeatedly since the very start to the whole country about what he knew, when and how. And these files have exposed the fact that the Prime Minister has not been honest with the country or with the Commons about the extent to which he knew about this relationship.
Could not agree more. 0344 499 1000. 0344 499 1000. Get those voice notes in. Who's going to be first today? You can text 87222. Listen, Labour today facing huge questions over why they gave this guy a 75 grand payoff, and he wanted more than $500,000. Let me get this right. A man with links to a paedophile who blatantly had lied, and Starmer. That's like me saying to old Damien G-Spot, you're fired, and giving him £500,000. He'd leave for a Coke and a Mars bar probably. But anyway, £75,000. What does that tell you about Starmer's judgment? This was the guy, sorry to make the point, I don't know when this was, last year, when asked, do you think that Peter Mandelson could be a reputational problem for the government and for you? This is what he said at PMQs. Oh, it's not ready. Oh, brilliant. OK, well, then just let's start as we mean to go on. Oh, it's ready now. Play it. Lovely.
The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Let's just take stock this morning on Thursday, the 12th of March. That is our Prime Minister saying he had complete faith in Peter Mandelson, who he now, we discover, knew was a dodgy appointment. I am delighted to say good morning. I'm calling you my trusty psychic. Poppy Coburn, hello.
Good morning. You know, I love a clip when Keir Starmer says he has complete faith in someone. Because it's like you've got to start your clocks.
Yeah.
When is that person going to be forced to resign? It's the kiss of death when the Prime Minister says he has his complete faith in you, isn't it?
I came in this morning and you and I looked at each other and you said, we were talking about the show and you were going, didn't we do this on Monday? Yeah, and the Monday before. And the Monday before that.
He's the gift that keeps on giving, isn't he? I mean, he can't have a single week of positive news coverage.
The thing about Starmer that I don't get, and I want somebody to be able to... Listen, if you are a Labour supporter or a Starmerite, if there are any, what's a Starmerite, for Christ's sake? Phone the show, 0344 499 1000. How is it that a man who shows such appalling judgment, and I mean appalling judgment, is still in position? I mean, surely, Badenoch yesterday was saying to the Labour MPs, you need to oust this man, right? How?
I mean, judgment's the right word.
Yeah.
Because the whole way that the Prime Minister has tried to sell this Mandelson farce is that he was deceived, he was lied to, that Mandelson was a bad apple, and he is a good man, and look, he just span a web of lies and it wasn't his fault. Well, these documents prove pretty conclusively that that was not the case. He was well aware of the risk behind Peter Mandelson. He was well aware of the Epstein link. What he did was take a political risk.
Why? Okay. Let me ask you that. Why would you? Does that not, without being conspiratorial, make you think that Mandelson must have had or does have an absolute shed load on all of them? Because any man, my 2-year-old daughter could make the decision that it wasn't a good idea. Why did he go ahead? Well,
the truth is that Mandelson can run rings around Keir Starmer, because Keir Starmer is a terrible politician. And I'm not just saying that, by the way, because I disagree with him. Obviously, I do disagree with him. I don't like his policies. But he's genuinely a bad politician because he cannot make decisions. And when those decisions go wrong, because they occasionally will, that happens to every politician, he cannot stick by what he said. He's weak. He U-turns, and he's done this with Peter Mandelson. He's tried to play it off as if he's some kind of victim. That makes him seem so much worse to me. Okay, if you could make an argument, I think this is a wrong argument, completely wrong, that Peter Mandelson is such a political genius that we needed him in the US. Okay, we needed him to be our man dealing with Donald Trump. That's at least what Morgan McSweeney thought. Okay, we know that. Why can Keir Starmer not stick by his decisions, OK? We all agree that it was the wrong thing to do now.
Have the courage to...
But at least have the courage to actually stand up for what you did.
This was 24. This was when... And here's the interesting thing. When you look at these clips now, this is when he announced the appointment, right? He will have known at that point, because he was told by the security services, by his closest advisors, this was... I mean, Jonathan Powell, who's a shady bugger at best, he'd been around since Labour time... He said, this is weirdly being rushed through. I don't agree with it. That was prudent. Jonathan Powell, if he's got doubts, then you really are in trouble. This was Starmer when he appointed Mandelson. Morning all.
On Peter Mandelson, look, and I do try to give pretty full answers in these sessions, I don't know any more than you do. And therefore, there's not really much I can add to what you already know, I'm afraid. And, you know, that's simply the state of the affairs.
Right, now, sorry, the thing that was drawn to me there on that clip, which you won't have seen on the radio, is it had a live tracker poll next to them. This was before the last election, and it said Labour 17 points in front of the Tories. That was only 24.
I know.
They haven't got 17 points now,
I was going to say 17 points, they'd be lucky to have that.
Front page of the Mail. Nails it. Not fit to lead the country. That's what Kemi Badenoch says. She's right, isn't she?
But it's true. Yeah. It's been true for months.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, again, I'd say it's been true since the very beginning. He never should have been Prime Minister.
No, I don't think so.
But it's certainly clear, even for people that took a gamble because they were upset with the last government and thought, let's get a new lot of people in. Maybe we just need to shake up. Maybe we just need a little bit of change at the top. He cannot make decisions. It's so damaging to the country. And if I were a Labour backbencher, I would realise that at that point. anyone else is better than Keir Starmer. He is such a toxic figure. He cannot control his own staff.
No, absolutely. And listen, we've got Carl Turner on, the only Labour MP who's out to have a say, and he's on the show at 9 o'clock. He's been very, very argumentative with this government about juries and all sorts of stuff, and it's brilliant to have him on. But at 6:10, straight away, 0344 499 1000. Morning, Andy.
Morning, Jezza. Poppy. It's Andy from Hull. Just remember years ago we had Teflon Tony, now we've got Kevlar Kia. Kevlar Kia, God, that means he could be in for ages. But things don't bounce off him, do they? He just absorbs it like the wet sponge that he is. Oh, my word. I genuinely thought he was going to start crying yesterday in PMQs. I was convinced his over-emotional reaction was ridiculous. But there you go. Have a good day.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because maybe it's just this station, but I to be very honest, I've always been on the radio, I'll tell you honest. We went to Cheltenham for 2 days. Do you know how many people came up to me and said, oh my God, what are you doing on talk? Telling the sense, you're talking right and all that, and how much of a, is Keir Starmer? All sorts of people from all walks of life. Is he the most hated? I mean, you think about Truss. I mean, we're living through... we walked into Westminster Abbey the other day and everybody booed. Do you not think he might just go, I don't need this anymore? But where's he going to hide? He's going to be like Prince Andrew at this rate. He's going to be sent to Sandringham.
I was literally
just in his own house like that.
They're going to put him in a cottage in Norfolk somewhere. He's going to hide from the paparazzi.
I don't think the word cottage should be associated with anything.
I mean, look, what I will say about Keir Starmer, he's done the impossible and he's brought a divided country together in the fact we all hate him.
That
is quite remarkable. We've all got to hand it to the man, but you're right. I mean, if I were him, you get out the job. Why wait for your MPs to get rid of you? He doesn't look happy. He looks miserable. He doesn't look like he's actually achieving any of the stuff.
I go back to what I've said to you and I've said to everybody. I agree with you. I don't think it's in his DNA. I don't think he's got a political bone in his body. His judgment is appalling. And now we're talking. You know, it's not just us going, oh, he's a... I would love us to be strong. I'd love it to be working. There's so much I want to talk to you about in the show today, but he isn't fit to lead this country.
He's not.
I mean, he doesn't know how to deal with anything on the international stage. He refuses to accept what working men and women are going through in this country. And talk about reputational damage. What about the reputational damage to this country with this guy in power? That's what I think.
Well, the worst thing that came out of the Epstein files, was for the UK. We had the biggest political scandal out of the Epstein files because of Keir Starmer's judgment. Because of putting Peter Mandelson in charge. That is a humiliation for Great Britain. It really,
completely true. Morning, Pops and Jez, in that order. Here we go. You couldn't make it up, could you? How is Starmer allowed to stay when Johnson had to resign over a piece of cake, says Karen in Newcastle.
Oh, very true. And who was pushing for him to resign at the time? Mr. Keir Starmer.
Absolutely. Morning, Jez. Damon from Wigan. Starmer's judgment on issues is absolutely disgraceful after the Mandelson scandal, even though he was warned about him. He's not fit to lead our country, and he's certainly not fit to be in charge of our armed forces. It's frightening for me, he says, that this man makes decisions that can... people will think about this country. I honestly have to tell you, he is the most useless Prime Minister I have ever thought would be able to lead. Bill's in Romsey. Morning, Billy. Why did I say Billy? Morning, JK. Well, that's it. Starmer lied about Mandelson. He paid him £75,000 for his misconduct. So what's the point of living here and struggling to keep head above water? I think I'm off to live abroad. It doesn't send a very good message, does it? You know, hard-working alarm clock Brits this morning. I'm really sorry you're crap at your job, but don't worry, there's 75 grand.
Well, you know...
What's a load of... I mean, how bad's that?
They're all patting themselves on the back. Like, the permanent secretaries pat themselves on the back. Because guess how much Mandelson actually asked for?
547. 547,000. Christian's resigned. Christian has resigned. 6:15, Christian stood up and gone, I want... Sorry, apart from the fact that he lied on his CV, I'm just trying to bring it back to basics here, and was particularly crap at the job, it turns out that you're not the right man, so we fire you, and you want £500,000.
Yeah, you've been told that you've got to be gotten rid of in disgrace because you're good friends with an international paedophile.
Yes.
And you want a golden handshake on the way out, and the government goes, well, we can't give you that. But how about twice the national average salary anyway?
Just to
for good work you've been doing.
Jan's in Newcastle. We're big in Newcastle this morning. My God, Starmer's just shot his party in the foot. I've just watched PMQs. I guess this was yesterday. He's attacked Tories and reform for U-turns. I saw this. Did you see this?
Yeah.
He was going, and there's a party doing... How many U-turns is it? 16, she says, which they haven't because he's taken their comments out of context. But his party have said U-turns are a sign that they have listened to the public and altered their stance accordingly. He has literally just demonised U-turns as terrible things. The two things both can't be true. I just do not believe that this man, this embarrassment for a man, has ever made it to... She calls him childish and unintellectual.
Well, he is. He is. I mean, he's pretended he doesn't have a favourite book, pretends he doesn't have a favourite song. I mean, the man is weird.
Does he? Does he?
Oh,
right, I'm doing it now. I'm sorry. Well, hold on a minute. We're going to come back with that. Morning, Dougie.
Morning, Jezza. Doug from Bognor. It's quite obvious Mandelson has got all of his positions because he's got the dirt on everyone of significance in the Labour Party. It's not difficult, is it? He comes over as the type that would gather all the nasty evidence he ever needed.
I'm honestly, and I'm not conspiratorial, I've only just learnt to say that, but I genuinely think he must have dirt on all of them. I don't get how anybody would make that decision.
I mean, I agree. The man's nickname was Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
I mean, he was known in New Labour for basically going around and threatening people into going along with his personality, going along with what Tony wanted. That goes for journalists, that goes for civil servants, and it goes for people within his own party.
You know, when this first blew up, and I won't name names, there was quite a famous journalist on Julia Hartley-Brewer's show, and sort of defended Mandelson, and I heard that with several other journalists. And you think to yourself, what have you got? What like you just said, what is it about you, Mandelson, that has people still blowing smoke up your backside? Because your best friend was a paedophile, and you've used this country to sell secrets to make money, allegedly. Outrageous.
Well, it's power worship, isn't it? It's power worship, because Mandelson had all of this money around him, which is, I mean, another question we need to get into.
Yeah.
Where did all his money come from? Because that's very concerning. He had all these good contacts. He was, again, and he was quite intimidating towards people. That's not an excuse, by the way, to go along and try and put the man in as our ambassador, to our most important ally.
Another ex-prince. He's no longer Prince of Darkness, is he? It'd be quite interesting. Maybe Mandelson, Graham from Bushy says, could negotiate your next talk contract, Jez. I don't do this for money. Morning, Poppy. How come you always have Jeremy on your show? Brilliant. That's nice, isn't it? Bruce in Lincolnshire. Morning, Bruce. Anyhow, I'm trying to stay positive, so can't really contribute to the show, but love to hear your Starmer impression to start my day, Poppy.
Oh, no. Right, OK, let me try and do it.
He's loving it.
What I've got to do, I've got to hold my nose to get it nasal.
Do you have to do that? All right, then, go on. Ladies and gentlemen, Poppy as Sir Keir Starmer.
I have complete confidence in my good Prime Ministerial friend, Peter Mandelson.
Very good. I'm loving it.
That's pretty good.
Morning, Pops, and you, Jez, I guess. Dave and Reading, that's where I was born. Starmer is a member of the bar. If you lie in court, it's called perjury. He swore an oath when he went into the Commons. He's literally committed perjury against the nation.
Well, quite.
Talk, Poppy and your sidekick, Starmer the Harmer. Let's hope by Friday he goes or gets sacked. Mornings are becoming fun again. I just can't. I just think my thing about it is liar, not able to lead the country, completely misplaced. What the hell would come after him if he went for a good... Listen, love to hear from you this morning. 0344 499 1000. Did you say that he doesn't have a favourite book or a favourite song?
This is one of my favourite Keir Starmer facts. So he was on Desert Island Discs, and you know they...
Sorry, was it Discs? Desert Island Discs?
Desert Island Discs. Yeah, well, there we go.
Good.
But, you know, he doesn't have a favourite song. He claims that he hasn't read a book, I think, cover to cover. Claims he hasn't got a favourite song.
What's your favourite book?
What's my favourite book? Robinson Crusoe.
See, I'm going to get into trouble here. What's your favourite song?
My favourite song? Oh, God. Probably a Kate Bush song. Probably a Bush.
It's me, a cat in a camel. I can't think of a favourite book. 50 Shades of Grey. No,
one of many things you have in common, Keir Starmer, right?
Yeah, although I don't think a woman can have a penis. In other news, 6:18. I want to ask you, because I was away. I saw this big thing on Talk that this Iranian march, pro-Iranian march, was banned, and then I woke up the next day, in between drinking too much, to discover that this pro-Iranian march can go ahead as long as they stand still.
What?
Static. I mean, I'm not actually joking. That Shabana Mahmood had gone and got it. Am I right, Christian? Got it banned. You can't do it. And everybody went, good, standing up to all these people who are advocating terrorism. And then the organisers said, well, we're not going to march. We're going to stand still. And that's rather buggered us. We'll get some info on that, but that's true.
This is very fun. So an Al Quds Day march, which is actually stationary. I assume there's going to be a police officer standing there watching them, waiting to see if an arm goes out or a leg slightly twitches.
But it's not just that, is it? If when you go on your march with what you're trying to say, what is the difference than standing still with what you want to say?
It's quite ridiculous, isn't it? So what, they're just going to stand there with the flags instead and intimidate people?
I've no idea. It's an interesting story. Pro-Iranian march to go ahead, but as a static rally. So if anybody says to you in future, I'm sorry, I disagree with your stance, don't you dare walk around and say, just stand still. It's as simple as that.
Get away with it.
0344 499 1000, text to 87222. It's great to be back. Morning, Laura.
Jeremy, Laura in Wiltshire. Fantastic to have you back in the driving seat. Starmer yesterday was such a pompous windbag. I couldn't believe it when all of this Mandelson stuff was about to come out. And let's not forget, Mandelson wasn't just friends with an international paedophile. What he was arrested for was what looks like allegedly insider trading as a senior member of the government. And still Starmer paid him off. It's incredible, a total embarrassment as ever. Different day, same. Anyway, great show.
Welcome to Down the Local, the show that goes from pub to pub across the country, speaking to the punters about the subjects driving us all nuts at the moment.
That's Rachel Reeves, Rachel Thieves, Rachel McCounts.
I don't really know Meghan Markle. I know Meghan Markle from Suits. That's about it.
I don't know about anyone else, and I don't know where this is going. I have 0% beard, and I feel
raising the flag, I think, is symptomatic of this desperation.
Is public transport good value for money?
No, it isn't.
You really don't like speaking to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 6:23. We're live across the UK. JK back on Breakfast, home of common sense, and of course, the home of Alarm Clock Brits. Whatever you're doing this morning, you're very welcome. We want to hear your views on the news of the day. 0344 499 1000. Text. Hello to Pauline Crew. Morning, Poppy, and that sidekick Jezza. Brilliant. Keir Starmer is Prime Minister of a government that gives 75 grand to the bloke who was sacked for his links to a paedophile and hands out 40 grand to illegal migrants to leave the country. Get this incompetent clown out of number 10 as soon as possible. We can talk about that. That's the other story. The Home Office yesterday refusing to reveal how many failed asylum seeker families have accepted, we did this before on the show, £40,000 in taxpayers' money, free tax, to leave Britain, whilst we hear that UK spends a fifth of its age budget on housing migrants. This story started a couple of weeks ago. You can break into this country. I am not having a go. You can break into this country illegally, bring your family, get a house, see a doctor, have your teeth done, have a little credit card, and then, just in case you don't want to leave, the government are going to knock on your door and say, we really need to do something about illegal migrants, so here's £40,000. And for a government that is skint for its own people, you can afford 75 grand to Mandelson and £40,000 to illegal migrant families. That's what's wrong with
My
this
favourite
government.
thing about the £40,000 to leave the country is because we still haven't fixed the small boats crisis, there is nothing stopping someone from going, oh, thanks for that, that's brilliant. flying over to France and then going, right, I might make that journey again.
Deposit in my bank, which goes back to wherever I've come from, and come back again on the boat.
It's like playing a game of Monopoly. Pass, go, pick up £40,000. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's migrant monopoly. There we are. It's a new game.
I mean, it really is.
And you don't have to buy your own house. You get given one in migrant monopoly.
I mean, it is just obscene. Also, by the way, every time the government says...
Mark's right. There's no go to jail. You've got to get out of jail free. God, Marky, brilliant.
But this is why the government upsets me every time they go, well, we're tightening our belts, we've all got to make sacrifices, This is why we need to cut the winter fuel allowance, this is why your grandparents won't be able to heat their houses in the winter. Because if they have got enough money to spend on stupid schemes like that, they have got enough money to look after elderly people.
Completely
and you know, I'm not someone who doesn't want welfare reformed. I really do. I don't want us to waste money on those sorts of things. But I understand why people are very angry when they say, well, hang on, you're taking from me. And why are you giving to the people who've actually committed a crime and being here?
This government seems to come up with money for the most harebrained schemes and ludicrous decisions, but keeps going on about how, you're right, we have to tighten our belts. And the one thing that I've said from day one here about, you know, alarm clock Brits is, how does it feel when you've done 30 years and you've paid your stamp? And that's an old-fashioned way of putting it, but you've done everything, and you are 70 and you can't get your house heated, and you look across the road at a migrant hotel where these men are coming illegally and being treated better. And I will have this argument with anybody, Pops. I was doing it this week, and everybody agrees. This is not racist, OK? This is fundamentally wrong. And all those people I see on Question Time and all those programmes go, these are refugees. I'm not even arguing with you. They're not. I'm not having that. I'm going to ask you this question, not you. Say, how do you answer your approach to the hard-working men and women of this country who are at the back of the bleeding queue, because that's the unfairness. If it's unfair, and they go, you're missing the point, we need to look after these people. No, you need to look after your own people, don't you?
Also, like,
don't you?
If these people have such a big humanitarian heart, don't go into politics. Go work for UNICEF. Go do your bleeding heart stuff on your own dime. What makes me so angry is that the country's actually been very clear how it feels about this refugee crisis.
Yeah,
it has washed its hands of this farce. It does not want to be part of this. It wants the small boats to stop. That has been clear in every single poll you could commission under the sun. Ask people any question, any which way, you will get the same answer back. And it makes me so angry because these people don't care about democracy. They don't actually care about the public. Whenever they invoke the name of, well, we're a compassionate country, what do you mean? What do you mean a compassionate country? Do you think it's compassionate to rob from taxpayers, to pay for people who have broken into the country after travelling from halfway across the world? Do you think it's compassionate to allow in the sort of men that killed Rhiannon Sky White, who was just trying to do her job at an asylum hotel? I'm sorry, I think it's revolting.
I completely agree. Jez and Pops, it's ridiculous that Britain's employing a Prime Minister who is the equivalent of a blind bus driver. What is worse is how bad his judgment is. I mean, Steve, in Cornwall, we couldn't agree more. Sean says anyone who takes part in the pro-Iranian march at the weekend is a potential terrorist and should be arrested accordingly. They should be arrested and refuse bail. We go back to that story that I threw out there because it's on page 15 of the Daily Mail. Pro-Iranian march to go ahead as a static rally. In London, it will go ahead as Shabana Mahmood confirms she is powerless to block it from going ahead. What does that mean?
I mean, this is slightly ridiculous. Not yesterday, the day before that, just before midnight, she had announced that she was going to block this Al-Quds Day march, which is notorious, right? Every year, you've got lots of people who are very pro the Iranian regime, you know, making unpleasant, threatening comments, particularly to members of the Jewish community, so they find it very intimidating.
Ban it,
right?
then.
Right, exactly. Pretty clear-cut case that you would find that to be unacceptable. Well, apparently, even if your Home Secretary says that you want to ban something, you can't, because if you stand still, instead of you have a march, if you stand still and you wave your flags and you shout abuse at people, apparently that's okay, and the police have no powers to stop you from doing that. But don't worry, we'll have PC Plod there, standing, watching to see if someone's about to go walk down to go to the loo or something, and I guess then we can arrest them.
OK, so you're a journalist of massive repute, right? Deputy content editor of The Telegraph. Explain to me in layperson's terms, you see what I did there? She's the Home Secretary and she can't do anything about it. Well, I wouldn't care if I hacked off everybody. If I was Home Secretary, every single person that went on that static, standstill, same load, I'd arrest them all.
Yeah.
I don't understand. And don't tell me there are no police. Quite rightly, after the Southport murders, he had 6,000 policemen and women on the streets.
Yeah.
Why is she... What do we mean she can't do it? She's the highest-ranked politician in the Home Office.
This is another thing that I find very frustrating. It's like we selectively police protests.
Yeah.
You know, certain protests apparently get the lightest touch of policing because other police are basically afraid of them, or they find it confusing and they don't want to get involved.
Police are afraid.
But they are. They are. I mean, how else could you explain the Palestine marches? You know, instances where you've actually got fights breaking out amongst the crowd, and you just see like these videos of police officers just kind of standing there gormlessly, not really knowing whether or not.
But if you write something really, really nasty on your WhatsApp or your Instagram, there'll be 6 armed police at your door arresting you at 6:30. Morning, Matt.
Good morning, Poppy. Jezza. Matt in Warrington loading the van. So, Peter Mandelson, it's all coming out. It's only going to get worse, isn't it? Hey, do you remember that little speech where Starmer says, "Oh, we know him as Peter"? Makes me skin crawl when I hear that. Because he knows what that horrible little man was doing. He knows everything what he was up to. And still, he just wanted him in power. Let's have a general election and get these people out, put them on the dole. They can go and live on the benefits. Great show, guys.
Matt leading. See, there, Matt out every morning, loading his van, phones the show, 6:30. What does he think of it? If you're waking up, the main news is the first release of those Peter Mandelson files yesterday proved categorically to anybody with a brain cell that our Prime Minister is a liar. Kemi Badenoch says you're not fit to lead the country. Headline in the Mail, not fit to lead the country. The Sun, this is brilliant from Ryan Saby, for Pete's sake, PM. I mean, the guy is... How long have we been saying he's a dead man walking? Jeff says, please tell me Starmer had the cheek to talk about U-turns at PMQs with Reform and Tories. Has he forgotten he's 16? The man is an embarrassment. Zoe in Lancashire. I think this payment for Mandy was a silence payment to walk away because he's got dirt on all of them.
Well, that's actually, even from what we can see of the release of the files, they basically go, that was a good result. He's not going to kick up a fuss. And of course, that's open-ended to interpretation.
I don't care what anybody tells me. He will squeal like a bleeding pig when he goes down. Starmer is going to squeal and bring them all. And by the way, listen, he's innocent until proven guilty, and he denies all allegations. I'm just waiting for the name Blair to be thrown into the... Honestly, there has to be so much on this. Ian says, actually, Starmer has never been more popular. Slightly weird. He's keeping Britain out of the chaotic war waged by Trump. You know, the one that's having inflammatory effects on oil and food for the world. Yeah, that's because don't get me on that. Natasha, good morning. I loathe Starmer as much as you. Now, I don't know how to take that. I loathe Starmer as much as you. Does that mean she loathes Starmer as much as she loathes me, or as much as I loathe Starmer? But you said no one could be worse. They could. Miliband and Rayner would drag us even more to the left, which would be disastrous and destroy the country even more.
I completely agree with that. I think that's absolutely spot on. Because the thing about Keir Starmer, I think he's infuriating because he's rubbish. He really is rubbish at the job, and you go, for goodness sake, this man's supposed to be leading our country. What must the rest of the world think of this absolute fool? But I would be much more frightened of having a competent person in charge who's got all the same bad ideas that Keir Starmer does. Ed Miliband, if he is Prime Minister, we need to be really, really worried.
No, we don't. We need to get our passports and disappear quickly. So I've only been back for half an hour. Been at Cheltenham. The alcohol's trying to get into my bloodstream, or my bloodstream's I don't know what's happening. Anyway, we've woken up about the files. We've woken up about the 75 grand. We've talked about how many people have accepted £40,000 tax-free of your money, illegal migrants, to go home. The government won't tell us how many. A pro-Iranian march can't be cancelled. Well, it can if it's a march, but if they stand still, they can still wave our heads. But let's go all in now. Zack Polanski. Because I genuinely, this is as a voter. I've seen the opinion polls. I know what happened in Gorton and Denton, and they did a job in Gorton and Denton. I will forever talk about sectarian voting. Do think we need to talk seriously about what the Greens are for, legalising heroin and open borders with the mood the nation is in. But let's start to turn the lamp on Zack Polanski, who's had quite a meteoric rise. I mean, I call him Hypnotits because his job used to be, by his own admission, he used to be a hypnotherapist who reckoned he could enlarge women's breasts. This is true, isn't it?
It's very true. Yeah, very, very true. In fact, he did a Sun journalist in an interview with him.
Yeah.
Where she went in for a hypnotherapy treatment, a bit of a light feature.
A light breast feature.
As you can imagine.
Yeah.
And apparently Zack Polanski's powers were somewhat affected. She came away and said, well, you know, it's hard to tell, but maybe. He seemed quite convinced. But since then, he has said the Sun was misleading. You know, I've never said that I could enlarge women's breasts. Maybe I did. But anyway, I've apologised multiple times. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about my raft of policies. Until last night, when a new story dropped from the BBC.
Zack Polanski, this is a great on hypnotherapy growing breasts. BBC Humberside in 2013, and Ed Balls, let's give Ed Balls some credit, questions Zack Polanski about his previous claims. He says they're problematic views. Have a watch, have a listen.
There's an article in The Sun last week where a client came to see me who was a journalist, and we had a successful project. We've done it a couple of times, and there seems to be no shift, but actually increasingly more and more as I work with people, there's starting to become anecdotal evidence, at least, of growth in breast size.
But not from last week, though, I assume.
Yes, actually, with her breast size in the Sun article, she says that she grew 4 inches. It didn't change her cup size. She stayed the same cup size, but she said it was a tighter fit.
So they actually grew?
Yep, according to a journalist.
Sorry, can we just... Sorry, forget the Ebbles. So that was him on BBC Humberside in 2013. I don't want to, you know, because the thing about the world that we live in, ladies and gentlemen, and I have been on the sharp end of this, you have to say the right thing, but Pops is like my sister, so I can say anything. Is it possible for your boobs to grow 4 inches by a man simply saying, come on, baby, grow... What the...
What?
And that man is second in a national opinion poll.
By the way, he said, oh, we've seen anecdotal evidence that I grow slightly, and then when he comes in with the 4 inches in a week... I mean, I think that's more than slightly.
Mate, if you went to see him for 4 weeks, your boobs would grow twice the size of the average...
Oh, my God. I mean, the man is a creep.
Put my hands down, did you say? Can you imagine? I mean, I've got the greens, right? Donald Trump, well done, Marky. Drill, baby, drill. Zack Polanski, grow, baby, grow. Unbelievable.
Well, that's the economic growth we're going to get. Okay, forget Rachel Reeves. We're going to get Zack Polanski outside the Treasury saying you're feeling much bigger. You're feeling much bigger.
Everything's swelling. Can I just say, I'm not Ed Balls' biggest fan, but Ed Balls questioned him about his previous comments. This is very interesting. Now, Zack Polanski, this is called a U-turn in green terms. Have a listen.
Just explain, at the time, you believed that through hypnotherapy you could enlarge a woman's breasts and charge people for that. What was your thinking then, and how did your thinking change subsequently?
Anyone who believed that would, that would be problematic, and that's nothing I ever believed.
But you charge people to tell them you can grow their boobs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry.
If that's a sit, mind you, judging by Starmer, he's a tit anyway, isn't he, Starmer? I mean, the whole thing's a nightmare.
Look, I don't really mind if politicians, you're going to have jobs before, they're going to occasionally have said embarrassing things, but I do not want anyone near a position of responsibility.
I thought you were going to say something else.
No, I know you did.
I don't want him anywhere near
dirty
him.
mind.
I haven't.
But I don't want anyone near number 10 who actually thinks that they can grow someone's breast with their mind.
That's not the shocking thing. It's 4 inches.
4 inches? Sorry, no, you're going to set me off again. You're going to
4 inches, I can make your breasts grow 4 inches by talking to you. There's going to be calls. There's going to be calls for a hypnotherapist for men, I'm telling you, because 4 inches would be... I mean, do you know what I'm saying? It's astonishing. 0344. And on a serious note, the reason we've done that, right, is that man is running at nigh on 20% in the national opinion polls. He's not Prime Minister, it's a joke.
No. I mean, exactly. And the fact that he's actually been deceiving people about his past, that he thought that he could blame the nasty media for, telling lies about him. Yeah, how dare they say that about him? And now this old BBC interview's resurfaced where not only does he stand by what he said in the Sun interview, he doubles down and says it was 4 inches. Doubles down. Double D.
He doubles down. Double D. He double D's to 4 inches. It's extraordinary. Listen, it's 20 to 7. We're live across the UK. Jez and Poppy on Breakfast. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Morning, Steve.
Morning, Jeremy. Steve from Bachelor. Just on my 90-mile commute to work down the M1. how fun that is. Just on your comment on conspiratorial, I think I've said that right. I think you don't really need to worry. I think the conspiracy theorists are up, 13-0 at the moment over the last couple of years. Maybe you should just call yourself a premature realist, because all of this just keeps coming true. I used to laugh at conspiracy theorists, or so-called conspiracy theorists, in tinfoil hats. But now I'm just jealous that they saw it coming and that they had the headwear ready. I've got mine on now as I drive. Cheers.
Steve, there is nothing premature about me, let me tell you. And the reason I can say that is I've been seeing a hypnotherapist for that problem. Back in 3.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In this sea of misery on Talk Breakfast, you know, with the war in Iran and Starmer's a perpetual liar and we've got no money and anybody who pays their tax is treated... Every now and then we get given pennies from heaven. This Zack Polanski story, I'm sorry, too many of you responding. I'm just going to do this again. In his old life, he was a hypnotist, right? Well, he was a hypnotist who said he could grow the size of women's breasts. A Sun expose 10 years ago, a female reporter went... And he basically said, I'm sorry, I've been there. He basically said, I apologise, it's wrong. He didn't, he doubled down. This is him in a BBC Humberside interview in 2013 because, my God, Mark has raised the most important question. Listen very carefully to this.
There's an article in The Sun last week where a client came to see me who was a journalist, and we had a successful project. We've done it a couple of times, and there seems to be no shift, but actually increasingly more and more as I work with people, there's starting to become anecdotal evidence, at least, of growth in breast size.
But not from last week, though. I assume.
Yes, actually, with her breast size in the Sun article, she says that she grew 4 inches. It didn't change her cup size. She stayed the same cup size, but she said it was a tighter fit.
So they actually grew?
Yep, according to a journalist.
What do you mean, according to a journalist? Right. So. But Mark's made a really good point, Poppy, and I only ask you this because the 4-inch growth. Is that evenly spread? Because if one breast grew by 4 inches, you'd fall over if the other one... So is it 2 on each side? Is it 8 in total? I mean, how does her bra still fit her?
Well, you know, the
whole thing's worrying me.
This is why Zack Polanski needs to come on your show. So you not so we can do a demonstration, because that might frighten people.
Bloke says here, do you think you should get him on deal with your man boobs, you cheeky git? It's no man boobs, this is chiselled action.
All you need is one session with Polanski. OK, maybe he can get you a six-pack as well.
Why are you turning on me? See, that's what's wrong with the world, you see. She can say that. If I dared to say to Poppy Coburn, you need to see Zack, she'd go, oh, that's absolutely outrageous.
I'm not seeing Zack Polanski under any circumstances.
I think he hypnotised his dentist for what it's worth, because have a look at his teeth. I'm sorry, I've just said it. It's absolutely, honestly.
Yeah, he had such fantastic powers. He'd go, you're feeling very white and straight at the moment with your teeth. Ooh.
Don't think you can say white and straight. 7:15. Morning, Phil.
Morning, Jeremy. It's Phil here from Durban in South Africa. I woke up this morning, the 2 major news stations in South Africa, The headline is, what is going on in the UK with Starmer? Starmer under pressure over Mandelson affair. Everyone I talk to says, why can't you get rid of that imbecile Starmer? Jeremy, we've just become the laughing stock of the world. It is amazing, Jeremy. Anyway, look, great show. Keep up the good work.
We're live in Durban in South Africa. Great place, by the way. Thank you very much indeed, Phil. Couldn't agree more. Right, 7:15. Let's take our daily dose. Let's go live to Los Angeles. The host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered is... Oh, we need a second. 0344 499 1000. Just a technical. Jez and Pops, you've got it wrong. Polanski doesn't make someone's breasts bigger. He makes their hands smaller, says Paul in Loon. Robin Walsall. Maybe Starmer has been seeing Zack on the sly because he is one massive... Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's true. Welcome back, Jez. We have U-turn Starmer and breast-growing Zack, and I don't even want to mention Ed Davey. When do we come out of this nightmare? Did you win on the horses? No, my son did. Not that I'm advocating that a 17-year-old should gamble, but he did. Good morning, Poppy Kerbo. What a pleasant start to my day, says Leon. Absolutely no mention of me at all. Is she ready to go? We'll go to LA. A very good morning. Kinsey Schofield, hello.
Am I ready? I'm always ready for you, Jeremy Kyle.
Oh. Zack Polanski, your thoughts?
My thoughts are... where were you when I was 12 years old?
This man wants to be the Prime Minister of this country, and his job used to be hypnotising women. The Sun sent an undercover reporter in. She obviously made the story up, and he stood by the story that her breasts could grow 4 inches by talking to him, Kinsey.
No, I feel like he's truly a magician.
Well, there's something wrong with him. Just before we get into Meghan, did I read a story overnight that California's been warned that it could be at the mercy of drones from Iran or something? Did the FBI, was there a story about this?
Yeah, Governor Gavin Newsom has addressed it as well, that the police were notified by Washington that Iran could use drones to attack the West Coast. You know, I don't know if we're really taking it seriously. I'm sure that there are some people that are, but why would Iran want to attack us? Like, we're just a bunch of failed reality stars and tampon commercial actresses. Like, is Washington not more of a target? Like,
tampon actresses. I think Zack Polanski should head to California. Great to have you on, my darling. I don't quite know how to get to it. Safe to say, let's talk Meghan Markle. We've talked incessantly about Epstein.
Speaking of failed actresses.
Yeah, talking of failed actresses, box 23 on Deal No Deal. Whenever I go to the States, the boys and me on the golf trip just sit there watching her in a boob tube that Polanski might have helped her with, but that's another story. She's got so low, I mean, they've lost the Netflix deal. She's going to appear in person at a girls' weekend in Australia where they charge people for a meet and greet. This is like... tell me more, please. It's extraordinary.
Well, Poppy and I have our bags packed. We're ready to go. It's the Her Best Life retreat, and it's being marketed as a luxury women's weekend. This is happening April 17th through 19th. And I will say, strategically, it does feel... Harry and Meghan like to tell us that they're showing up in Jordan tomorrow. They do not like to give us a big heads up. I absolutely believe that this was to kill the Netflix story because they didn't want people debating that this is just another huge professional failure. You know, right after Spotify, you've got Spotify, Lemonada, Netflix. The graveyard just keeps getting deeper and deeper. So she's apparently doing this retreat where if you pay between $200 or $2,000 and $3,000, you get to enjoy an intimate gala dinner and a conversation with Meghan Markle. Not personally, you just get to listen to her sit up there and talk about anchoring in herself and other Meghanisms.
Because anchoring in herself?
Yes, that's one of the things she said during her Bloomberg interview, that, you know, she's just learned to anchor within herself.
I'd like to drop her anchor and watch her fall in the water. Well, I did ridiculous. So, sorry, they must be desperate for cash then, Kins. Gotta be.
I absolutely think that this is a sign of being desperate for cash. Another sign is that her friend, Marcus Anderson from Soho House, literally picked up the phone and called this organization and said, what would you guys think about hosting Meghan? So it's not like this organization reached out to Meghan because they were actually inspired by any of her failed pursuits, business opportunities over the last few years. This is basically a friend doing another friend a favor. But like JK, I'm willing to pay $3K for a step-by-step guide to how to grift millions of dollars out of Spotify or Netflix. I would pay $3K to listen to, or watch a PowerPoint presentation on how to secure a prince. That's worth $3K. But whatever these women are getting, God love them, because they will be asking for refunds as they exit the building.
They must be so desperate for cash. Let's bring it also to, we continue the stories and the fallout from Epstein. There's a story doing that. Have you seen this thing that at that Andrew touted himself as a second-hand plane salesman to a Victoria's Secret undies boss, boasting he helped his mum buy a jet? Have you heard this story?
I did, yeah. I saw this story in The Sun, and it's so bizarre. I mean, I immediately thought of Harry and Meghan because, again, the word grifter comes to mind. Yep. Just how many hats these people have to wear because they don't have a real purpose, and they are struggling to stay above water. They're struggling to maintain a lifestyle and to keep up with the Joneses. I mean, in both cases of Harry and Meghan and Andrew, they like to hang out with high-profile people, and so they want to dress the part. They want to show up where those people will be seen. They want that maybe they're going to be on private jets that those people might admire as well. And it's a great example of like the heir and the spare, and why I think that William and Catherine are so important, and the way that they parent is so important in the sense that they're not raising a spare. They have 3 beautiful children. George knows what his future holds, but there's no pressure on Charlotte or Louis to, there's no spare pressure. There's no feeling like you're not enough or that you have a lost path.
I'm sorry, you can have this argument. People will go, oh, I feel sorry for Harry because he's the spare. You've had a privileged and entitled life, mate. Do something good with it instead of moan and bitch. This is quite interesting. We had the Commonwealth service at the Abbey, if you remember. You've been watching the footage that Starmer got booed on the way in. A professional lip reader, they're slightly weird, those people, by the way. Prince William apparently told Princess Anne, I've had enough of hearing his name regarding Andrew. I mean, there is definitive proof that William has been very powerful in getting him banished, and that's why he sat in a cottage in Norfolk, not able to even ride a horse.
I do wonder if he's more sick of hearing the name Andrew than hearing the name Harry, because before this was. Can I just tell you though that Harry's also participating in an event in Australia. He's going to be one of the keynote speakers at the InterEdge Safety Summit, where he's going to be discussing mental health in the workplace, which is kind of a joke when you think about the cycle of employees.
He's never worked.
Not only has he never worked, JK, but think about the cycle of employees that have the Sussex Survivors Club. Yeah. They started a club. There are so many people that have left Harry and Meghan's team because they feel like they're terrible at leadership. And so the fact that he would be in a position to discuss mental health in the workplace,
in fact, all those people, I read something like 5 PRs in however long it is, all those people have left saying it's too much of a drain on us, they're ridiculous, they make too many demands. You're right, what about their mental health? Absolutely, categorically. For me, it's really interesting because, this story, I mean, some of the press over here have started to attack William and Kate. The majority, though, were saying, and we've said it before, they are the clean slate that's needed to save the monarchy. I was away and Zara Phillips was there, and you only have to look at the monarchy. I even felt at Cheltenham this week that they're not on tenterhooks, but you can see that there's a different vibe amongst, not just amongst people, but there's a different vibe amongst the royals. And I think I'm a royalist like you. I wanted to survive, and the more I see of this, the more I see of it. I say every day, and I'll keep saying it, I think he might have to fall on his sword, citing illness, the king, to save the monarchy, because I think that William and Kate can sweep aside the Harry and Meghan BS, and they can sweep aside the Andrew stuff and start afresh, because I don't think the British public will probably swallow anything else. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but it doesn't help. And I would never defend the man, but it doesn't help the man that the United States is not pursuing further investigations or prosecutions of any of the people listed. Hopefully they'll unredact some of the documents that have been redacted, give us a better idea of everyone that's included on the list and how they were involved. But we're seeing both Mandelson and former Prince Andrew getting the brunt of this because there's no one else, in the same way that we looked at Ghislaine Maxwell and said, is she taking this for the team, you know?
I completely agree with you. Anyway, lovely conversation. Growing boobs, drones into California.
Pedophiles.
What?
Pedophiles.
And pedophiles, yeah. Very good start to my day. Love you so much, Kins. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
She says it. So, I was just going to say, Pop, are we going to an ad break, are we? I'm going to give you an offer during the ad break. You can go to a wellness retreat to meet Meghan Markle, I'll pay that, or you can go and meet Zack Polanski to try and get your boobs bigger. What are you going for?
Oh, no. Is there a third option where I can jump off a bridge?
Brilliant. Back in 3.
Current affairs, international news, letting criminals off while sending... Oi! You shut up. I'm trying to record something.
Stand by for 3 powerhouse hours of breaking news, challenging views. I don't give a flying damn about international law. I think people will viscerally reject this.
The UK on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
And welcome back, almost 7. Popper, you've been absolutely amazing. So Starmer is a liar.
Yeah, simple as. We could say that every week, couldn't we?
Yeah.
That could be the whole show.
And he gave Peter Mandelson 75 grand, even though he'd been warned that it would reputationally destroy him.
Well, you know what? This is not the last we're going to hear of this Mandelson's filed story, because, of course, and this is the untold story, this was only a small part of the actual files, because the Metropolitan Police are saying as part of their investigation they need to hold things back. So there are a lot of questions that we still need to ask. We don't have any of the correspondence between Morgan McSweeney and the Prime Minister, for example, because I bet there's some interesting messages in that. And we don't actually have his filled-in interest form, where Peter Mandelson would have declared any existing financial interests he has. So that, I think, is going to be fascinating, because I'll ask the question again. Where did he get the money for his property portfolio?
That's not going to go away. Huge questions about the 75 grand. Huge just questions about Starmer's judgment. The Home Office refusing to say how many illegal families have taken 40 grand to disappear.
Yep.
And the leader of the Green Party, that's second in the polls, outed as a liar. He says he can grow a woman's breasts by 4 inches simply by talking to them. Jez, come on, Prince Harry has never worked. He literally served our nation in combat in the armed forces. Please acknowledge that. You're better than belittling a veteran service, is Matt in Runcorn. I'm not belittling a veteran service ever. but it's a bit rich for a man who 11 people have less employment. Talk about mental health with the working community, in my opinion. Bless you. Poppy Coburn back on Monday. We're back after the news at 7. Which is next?
Fancy returning to the front line as Foreign Secretary?
I am going to return. I am going to return. To the people from whence I came. Hello, I'm Peter Mandelson, and I'm proud to serve as His Majesty's British Ambassador to the United States of America. I feel a tremendous sense, a profound sense of sympathy for those people, those women who suffered as a result of his behaviour and his illegal criminal activities. And secondly, I regret very, very deeply indeed carrying on that association with him for far longer than I should have done.
The ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Mandy's out 4 decades and 3 scandals, or 3 that we know about. Guess what? Number 10 knew all about it. They knew that he lived in Jeffrey Epstein's flat.
Mandelson resigned from the Labour Party late last night over the allegations of $75,000 set of payments to him from Epstein while he was business secretary, $10,000 to his now husband, a photo of him in his pants. This isn't just bad form. There are strong arguments here for him to be facing investigation over misconduct in public office.
I knew of his association with Epstein, but had I known then what I know now, I'd have never appointed him.
Breaking news that Lord Mandelson, Peter Mandelson, has now been arrested. So Mandy and Andy have now both had their collars felt. This is the establishment, the British establishment on trial. Came to us around about 5 o'clock when we learned that we saw footage of Peter Mandelson being led out of his London home in very exclusive Regent's Park by 3 coppers.
Now we have all these allegations, we have all the documentation related to those allegations, which Downing Street is being forced to put out. The first tranche of it will be early next month.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hey, very good morning, my friends. Just gone 7 o'clock. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is JK on the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock. Brits, as the sun rises on another day here in London. God knows what the weather's like with you, but the news just doesn't change. I've been off for 2 days and I come back, and what does it say? The Prime Minister, it is fair to say, maybe an only name, the clock is ticking. Those files released yesterday about Peter Mandelson, the files that had to be released, showing categorically that that man on screen with the glasses, that if you're watching on YouTube, or the man whose whiny voice you can hear, was warned about what it would do by employing Mandelson. Reputationally, he was told it's a particular risk and he ignored it. Why did he ignore it? Has Mandelson got stuff on all of them? We've no idea. Even Jonathan Powell, the National Security Advisor, who's known to be as, well, quite slippery, he said it's weirdly being rushed. This is not a good decision. Even worse, though, right on the back of that, turns out that Mandy, when sacked, wanted £547,000 as a payoff, because that's real, isn't it? And guess what? Starmer gave him 75 grand, tax-free of your money, to beetle off somewhere, having lied completely and utterly, which is why yesterday Kemi Badenoch is absolutely spot on.
For so long, the Prime Minister has tried to make this about Peter Mandelson's lies. What this shows is that it is Keir Starmer himself who has lied repeatedly since the very start to the whole country about what he knew, when and how. And these files have exposed the fact that the Prime Minister has not been honest with the country or with the Commons about the extent to which he knew about this relationship.
So if you're waking up on a Thursday morning, the Prime Minister is a liar. Every single newspaper, for Pete's sake, PM, that's on the front of the Sun. Great piece by Ryan. Front page of the Mail. Not fit to lead the country. Listen, there's so much here. The Home Office yesterday saying we can't tell you the exact numbers of illegal families that have been given 40 grand of our money to disappear. And I know we banned that pro-Iranian march, but if they stand still, you'll think I'm making this up, if they stand still statically and wave their anti-Jewish flags or whatever, we can't do anything about it. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is just the hors d'oeuvre for a story that is not going away at all. Zack Polanski. The reason I'll keep doing this is because I want the people of this country to know that this Green Party and this leader are a joke. They're duplicitous and their policies are worrying for the United Kingdom. Zack Polanski made a big thing. It was all a joke. He used to work as a hypnotist who could change women's breasts and all that. And everybody went, oh, that's the past. He says all of this expose from the Sun was all made up to make me look bad. A Sun journalist 10 years ago went to visit Zack Polanski and wrote a piece saying, I went to see him and my breasts have grown by 4 inches. He said, oh, that was just a journalist. And then they unearthed an interview with BBC Humberside in 2013. Have a listen.
There's an article in The Sun last week where a client came to see me who was a journalist, and we had a successful project. We've done it a couple of times, and there seems to be no shift, but actually increasingly more and more as I work with people, there's starting to become anecdotal evidence, at least, of growth in breast size.
But not from last week, though, I assume.
Yes, actually, with her breast size in the Sun article, she says that she grew 4 inches. It didn't change her cup size. She stayed the same cup size, but she said it was a tighter fit.
So they actually grew?
Yep, according to a journalist.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we're not sure whether it's 2 on either side or 4 either side. Zack Polanski made a career out of saying that he could grow a woman's breasts by 4 inches by talking to him. He's a tit, isn't he? Morning, Dan.
Morning, Jezza. Dan from Bedfordshire here. Just a quick one on Zack Polanski. As a gay man, how did he find out that he could hypnotise ladies' boobs into growing? I just need to know the whole thought process behind that. Anyway, have a great day. I'll be thinking about that all day. Have a great day, Dan.
Can I point out that Big Mark, who pushes the buttons, is on fire this morning. He's had several, he said there are several unasked questions, like, does he work in any other areas? Here's a man who worked in the area of government. He's laughing in the background. Former government special advisor. JP, how are you, me old son? James Price.
I haven't actually listened to that audio yet. That is absolutely astonishing. The best bit being that the presenter gave him a few off-ramps, right? Yeah. Like, the hypnotism didn't really grow this woman's breasts, though, did they? Oh, yeah, they did. She told me they did.
Anecdotal growth. What the hell does that mean? What is anecdotal growth? And, of course, JP, listen, 4 inches, 2 on either side, because 4 on one side, she's going to fall over. Lopsided Zack. Joke.
Look, Zack Polanski wouldn't be the first chap to misunderstand how big 4 inches is, but we better not get into it on a breakfast program.
The reason I play that is because I want the world to know, this country to know, it's not personal, but I want them to know what the Green Party is, which is a dangerous bunch of nut jobs who want to legalise heroin, who want open borders, who think that if you come to this country illegally, you should be given a house and a job, well, actually a wage without working. And I think it's really, really important to make that point. Anyway, me old son, it's Thursday. We've been to Cheltenham and we're back, and it's just the same. A Prime Minister on whom the clock is ticking. I call them the Mandelson files yesterday, just a small amount released, show categorically, James, that he was absolutely, Starmer told and was aware that Mandelson's relationship with Epstein was going to cause reputational risk to this country and this government. Why in the name of God did this man still go ahead with offering him the job?
It's absolutely astonishing, isn't it? Look, we've always been told never to ascribe to conspiracy what could just be cock-up. But when it comes to this, how obvious it was that Mandelson was a really quite dodgy character. He'd been fired from multiple governments already. It was well known that he was friends with all kinds of bad hombres, even before the depths of the Epstein friendship has been made broadly, publicly aware. What is it that he's got on other people? Because, we all know that Mandelson has this reputation as a sort of dark prince and a sort of Machiavellian figure and all the rest of it. But it really does seem that the best explanation for Starmer doing something that is so obviously going to come back and bite him as it now is that the alternative to not appointing Mandelson might have somehow been even worse. But it is, as you say, absolutely stark in this, stark and clear. He went and stayed at Epstein's house even after Epstein was in prison for soliciting child prostitution. This is astonishing stuff. And even with the stuff we knew already, where Epstein emails Mandelson and says things like, would you like me to get you a Cuban American or something like that? And he goes, oh yeah, that would be lovely, please, but I can't get out of work for a little while. Oh, and separately, by the way, are you still
Is that a cigar, a Cuban American? Is that what we're talking about?
I think that might have been one interpretation of it. I wouldn't dare to speculate on any other. But as you say, the fallout of this is so obvious. And in a world where the civil service is very risk averse and it does try and stop people from doing good things and risky things that might, lead to economic growth or closed borders or anything like that, it is ironic that Starmer, who is so willing to listen to the civil service in every area to the detriment of his whole policy agenda, the one time that he does ignore the largely overly constrictive pressure of the civil service, it comes back to bite him as terribly as this. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
If Jonathan Powell's telling you it's weirdly rushed, you know you're in trouble. Couple of questions that might seem obvious. Has Starmer lied, James Price?
Yes, of course he has. 100%. 100%. And he might have got away with it in some legal sense had it not been for the fact that I think he was lying in the House of Commons and therefore has misled the House. And I think this might do for him. The only thing that might save him is that we are now, just under 2 months away from the local elections.
Yeah.
And I think the Labour MPs will not want to get rid of him ahead of that. They will want him to carry the can for it. But I just do not see this guy surviving to the summer. And frankly, at this point, nor should he. It might be that his successor is more nuts than he is. In fact, it's probably quite likely, looking at the backbenches behind him. But this guy is so totally morally compromised at this point. And our relationship with the Americans, our closest ally in so many ways, so ruined because of Starmer. I think the guy's got to go for the sake of the country.
I couldn't agree more. Just as a footnote, we've loads to talk about. The Zack Polanski story is going down a broom. He denies it, but the uncovered BBC interview says that he genuinely believed and said to a journalist, I've grown your boobs 4 inches by talking to you. Chris in the Southwest says we're all missing the trick here. Zack Polanski should indeed be made Chancellor right now in the Labour government because can you imagine the growth we would see in this country under a Chancellor with his abilities? I want to bring it on to something...
You know my dad is called Chris, by the way, and is also in the Southwest, so it's good to see my old man writing into the show.
But I'm not saying anything. I don't want Mummy Price having a go at me. Listen, can we talk about something that I don't really understand? And it's a story that sort of has come from nowhere this morning, but it just about sums up what's wrong with this country. I'm talking to my father-in-law last night about this. Page 15 of the Mail, pro-Iranian march to go ahead as static rally. Now, I've been away, so it seemed that Shabana Mahmood stood up and was quite vocal about this and said that the pro-Iranian Al-Quds, I hope I've got that right, Al-Quds Day march on Saturday, which generates quite a lot of difficulty, flag waving, quite a lot of animosity, it's illegal. We're not having that. We're not having a pro-Iranian, anti-Jewish mask with everything that marched, with everything that's going on, and everybody went, well done, Shabana. 24 hours later, I'm reading a story that says that they have decided that they're not going to march, they're going to stand still. And so messed up is this country that if you are static and don't march and you stand there and wave your disgusting flags with vile messages and anti-Jewish sentiment, the police can't, according to her and her, can't do anything about it. Now, I know I come from another planet, James, but is that what we've come to in this country? We can't do anything about it because they're standing still?
At one point, it is very, very funny, right? This idea that these nutters who are so stupid that they back this disgusting, rancid little terrorist regime in Iran have nevertheless managed to outsmart the Labour Home Secretary and the Metropolitan Police Commissioner and all the rest of it by this sneaky loophole. Well done them. At the other point, it's a travesty that our legislation is written in such a bad, shonky way that these morons can see ways around it, and that they are just so weak and useless, both in the, I think, let's say, in the leadership of the police, I'm afraid, not the rank and file members, but in the leadership, and the secretary herself and the team around, that they can't sort this out, right? The whole way that our political system works, and I'll never tire of explaining this to people, because although the civil service and the rest have tried to convince us that we have such things as checks and balances, nope, that's an American invention because they lied about the king 250 years ago. In our system, Parliament is sovereign, Labour has a massive great majority, and short of breaking the fundamental laws of physics, it can do what it wants. It could change this law, it can recall Parliament to go and do it and drag everybody back from their little holidays or their sordid affairs or whatever MPs get up to and make them vote on this to stop this march from happening. Or at the very least, once it happens, get MI5 to lift everybody's face on this and track them, because anybody who's supporting this regime is obviously a clear and present danger to the United Kingdom, and they should work to get them kicked out of the country if at all possible. The fact, therefore, that Labour don't ever do any of this stuff means they don't care enough about the security or the prosperity or the cohesiveness of our society to stop the scumbags that you can see on our screen from protesting in favour of an evil dictator.
Completely. I just want to play your voice note quickly. Carl, good morning. Oh, Carl? No? Yes? Maybe?
Morning,
I could
Jeremy.
throw my voice.
Morning, Poppy. Carl from Coventry here. Well, what can we say? It works both ways, doesn't it? So I suppose the next time Khan wants to ban the next right-wing march in London, they can all get together and say, we're not marching, we're standing here. Cheers, Jeremy.
It's true, isn't it? It's absolutely true. It's farcical to imagine that you cannot in any way, as the Home Secretary, control something that important. And for the people who, James would say, oh, well, it was wrong. If you're going to have marches, then all sides. But some of the sentiment and some of the hatred that apparently our politicians and the system hate so much needs to be taken out of this situation. Let me just feed you another. This is like feeding a lion raw meat, this is. The Home Office yesterday refusing to reveal how many failed asylum-seeking families have accepted an incredibly £40,000 tax-free gift from the taxpayer to leave Britain. And also I discovered that the UK spends a fifth of its aid budget on housing migrants. Poppy Coburn made a great suggestion earlier, James, your response to this. So you can come here illegally, bring your family, get a house, get paid for doing nothing, have your teeth fixed and see a doctor. Then you'll take £40,000 in tax-free money. You can go back to wherever you came from, probably just France, deposit in the bank and get back on a dinghy and come back. It's migrant monopoly and you get a get-out-of-jail-free card. That's the truth, isn't it?
The infinite money glitch. We might as well just stop deporting them in the first place and give them all of the money. Actually, if you did that, then they would be susceptible to the world's highest ever taxes that Britain's got. So maybe it's a sneaky plan to do some kind of mad Keynesianism where if Labour are desperate to make all these wonderful, charming people citizens, then at least they'll get clobbered by Labour's horrendous taxes. In principle, I'm actually in favour of the idea that just paying people to leave, because 40 grand sounds like a lot of money, it is a lot of money, unless you're Peter Mandelson, of course, but actually it's much, much cheaper than paying for these people's healthcare, as you say.
I get that, but the optics are awful, JP.
It's not just the optics, as you say, there is the incentive for people to then keep coming into the country. So in a world in which you stop the small boats from happening, and we actually do have such radical concept as borders again, then I do think it's something we should look at, because it's not enough just to seal up the border, although that will be job number one.
But with respect to what you've just said, my opinion would be this, and people say that's wrong. You look at America, there is no way on God's earth Trump is giving $40,000 or whatever to say leave this country. And I know that some people, quite a lot in America, have jumped up and down, but detain and deport, I would not be able to explain to hard-working alarm clock Brits that, you know what, it's it's easier for me to give that lying illegal scumbag £40,000 of your money than actually deporting him or her without anything. I think we need to toughen up, man. And I genuinely do. I know about the financial thing. We've got ourselves into this situation because we've been too soft. And there will be people... I don't know who the next government's going to be, but Farage has made no secret of what he would do. The Tories have been much stronger as well. But the truth is this, unless we toughen up and make decisions that might not be popular with everybody, this farce and that sort of farce, 40 grand for breaking in. Is there another country in the world that would allow that? I doubt it.
Well, okay, I think this is a really interesting conversation for us to have. In America, you're right, they don't give them tens of thousands of dollars, but there is a voluntary deportation scheme. They actually took the app that the Biden administration made, where you could, once you snuck across the border, you could claim sanctuary, and they turned that into a self-deportation app. So you go and say, right, actually, I'm here illegally, I'm ever so sorry. And I think the Americans will pay for your flight home at the very least and house you until you go, because it's much cheaper than sending the ICE agents in. And if you look at someone like Sweden, that for decades has had the most insane policy of saying, well, we're a humanitarian superpower and we're letting all these people in, to the point where they now had 30 grenade attacks in the city of Malmo in 1 month alone. They are actually now buying people's passports back off them, saying, look, we gave you this passport, it's not worked out, you've clearly not integrated, you're going to cause us a lifetime of misery, here's X many thousand kroner, take the passport back and go, because that is cheaper and easier to do. And I suppose it comes down to whether we want to see the stuff of, in America of the ICE agents and all the rest of it. Some of it's pretty good when you see some obvious gangbanger with a face full of tattoos who's murdered and raped his way around America getting the kicked out of him. But actually, if we're serious about getting huge numbers of people out of this country, which we need to do once the new government, whatever colour, as you say, comes in, I think we should be looking at all avenues, both economic and physical as well.
It just concerns me about the optics, but mate, you're probably right. As ever, a pleasure. The countryside with JP, and tell your dad to stop sending me text messages. Thank you, JP. 7:20, we're live across the United Kingdom. 0344 499 1000. If you're waking up, the clock is really ticking now on Starmer. The first set of Mandelson files released, they had to be yesterday, showing categorically that he had full warning about Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and was told repeatedly about the reputational risk, and yet still went ahead and gave a job, high-profile job, US ambassador to America from the United Kingdom, to a man who has caused all sorts of grief. On top of that, right, when he was fired, obviously, Mandelson, he wanted £500,000. You'd laugh in his face, wouldn't you? No, not Starmer. He gave him £75,000. Tax-free, 2 years' annual salary for average Brits, hard-working Brits, just for being a complete liar. You're waking up on that news about the Home Office and migrant boats, and Zack Polanski, who says he can make your breasts grow, anecdotally, by 4 inches. Morning, Tony.
Oh, anyone woke up yet? Any woman can grow 4 inches when they have their monthly period. They don't grow as in bra size, but they might have a little swell up. Oh, what an idiot. Sorry, guys, you're not that lucky.
Across the UK. On on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 7:25. We're live across the United Kingdom. A very good morning from Talk. It's the home of common sense. It's the home of the alarm clock Brits. Margaret says, Jez, the Palestine supporters who were banned from going on a march because of the hateful things that they say have been able to legally get round it if you're waking up by saying that it's static. So apparently if you stand there with your flag, with your disgusting anti-Semitic messages, you can't be arrested. She makes a really... I mean, I'm not making that up, by the way. It's a fact. Margaret says, surely the Palestinian supporters will still need to get to the area for their static process and they will be marching to the site, so should be arrested. That's very interesting. Good morning, Jez. Another Margaret here in Tunisia. This is a really good point. As it's now proven that Starmer lied to the House about what he knew about Mandelson, shouldn't he now be forced to resign? Think about Boris Johnson. How can we allow a PM to remain in the post when he's lied to the House? Should there not be a move against him? That's a really, really interesting point. Nick from Chichester, this is absolutely brilliant. Does this mean that us patriots can stand there with our Union Jacks on or holding them, having a non-march against the non-marchers? Nick, yeah, I think you can. One to Pete, he says, if it were Joe Bloggs claiming he could hypnotise women into having bigger boobs, he would be arrested for deception. And if Joe Bloggs took payment, he'd be done for fraud too. How is Zelensky? How is Polanski still a free man? No idea. Morning, Jezza. Starmer needs to meet with Zack so he can grow a pair of... Very good. And Graham says, surely the Green Party's tagline at the next lecture will be make boobs big again. Yes, indeed. We will fight them. No, we won't. What was it? Yeah. We will negotiate with them in the room and we'll have a good chat. Green Party, lovely. Cheers, what an absolute shower this government is. A few months ago, Keir Starmer said we were at war. Then he said, and then he never mentioned it again. This has to be called out by journalists. You can say those words and never mention them again, and then when a war starts, you cower away behind a lawyer's cape. It was a cheap shot, right, to get results. Talk Radio is the only place where people speak the truth. And just before we go to Sarah Pochin, the First Lady of Reform, Steve Lang says about Zack Polanski and his claim that he can grow a woman's breast by 4 inches, and I'm going to be careful how I read this. I need a reduction by 4 inches because it's proving difficult. I'm off to see Zack. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. We cross live to her beautiful kitchen. I hope is it a beautiful kitchen. We say a very good morning. Sarah Pochin, we love you. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
Well, it's been a year. You know, I went away for a couple of days to Cheltenham, had a lovely time and came back and it's the same old stuff. Keir Starmer. Let's get to it, shall we say? Keir Starmer, I'm sick and tired of, is this the end? Is he going to resign? Is he obviously going to hold on till the May elections? He categorically, these files proved, had warnings and was aware of the depth of Mandelson's relationship with the convicted paedophile Epstein, and yet he still went ahead and gave him the job as US ambassador. Can you... I know you and I always trade and talk. How... I mean, what does this say, again, about this man's appalling judgment, Sarah?
Well, you know, Jeremy, in public life, people like myself get elected to these positions, privileged positions, and we need to abide by, you know, the Nolan principles of life, the principles of honesty, of integrity, you know, of good judgment, of truthfulness. And here we have a Prime Minister embroiled in probably what's going to go down in history as one of the worst scandals of our lifetimes, of our generation, although there are others, of course, grooming gangs and so on and so forth that this government has failed to address. But he is currently beleaguered. He's in the middle of a scandal of his own making when it comes to the particular aspect of Peter Mandelson. And do you know what? He ignored completely the advice of the civil service. So we knew before yesterday that he had admitted in the House to Kemi Badenhock that he did know. But yesterday we had the actual proof of when he knew and what he knew. And his national security advisor, even Jonathan Powell at the time, told him that this was a rushed appointment. Yeah. Basically told him that the whole thing stank, and he ignored that advice and he went and he carried on. And that to me is a man who has no judgment and is involved in some very murky dealings.
Well, let's go further. Great text just then. Boris Johnson, love him or loathe him, was fired. In the end, his party turned against him. He was accused of lying to Parliament. Those files yesterday proved categorically that Keir Starmer lied in the House of Commons. He said, I didn't, and then he said, I did. How is it that the same pressure is not already being brought to bear on him as was with Johnson? Because to me, he's lied to the House. He absolutely has to go.
He has to go, and my view is that if you lie to the House, which is, I believe, the way that business should be conducted, you go. So how is it that he is still here? And he was late to the table when he came to admitting to Kemi, and I remember I was there in that PMQs when he said he knew, but he knew before. He knew so much more than he ever admitted to. But the point is he's ignored his advice. He's ignored his civil servants.
But why? But Sarah, my point. This is my point, right? I don't understand about... I mean, we can sit here and we can throw out his judgments appalling. When your advisors and almost every person with a brain cell is saying, don't do this, right? And I'm not conspiratorial. Why? He's supposed to be a top lawyer. Why did he go against them? It only can lead to the thought that Mandelson must somehow have stuff on all of them, because it doesn't make any sense. It's not even radicalism, it's madness. Who makes that decision?
And you see those pictures of him, don't you, Starmer? They have been showing them a lot yesterday of him walking somewhere with Mandelson and laughing and cozying up, and the whole thing, there you go, the whole thing stinks. And I agree with you. I imagine, Jeremy, there is so much more to come out. You know, we know everybody's involved, don't we, in this, or so many people are involved in this. Wes Streeting, he organised Mandelson's stag do. Well, that's the end of Wes Streeting's chances of becoming Prime Minister. You know, anybody associated with Mandelson now is suffering in the same way as anybody associated with Epstein has been suffering and will continue to suffer. The whole thing is a murky world. There's links, I am sure, to Chinese, to Russians, you name it. And that sounds conspiratorial. I guarantee you, Jeremy, this will all come out. And there were a lot of people feeling very uncomfortable about what's happening.
Completely agree. I don't want to... You're a Reform MP, but Kemi Badenoch was there in Prime Minister's Question Time, and a couple of weeks ago she made a phrase which certain people went, oh, and I thought, yeah. The question to you is he a pedo defender? Because she said your party is a party that defends paedophiles. When you see that yesterday, I asked the question, is Keir Starmer a pedo defender in your mind?
Well, look, I was there in the chamber when she said that, and I have to say we were all quite shocked that she spoke so bluntly, and I think we all looked to the Speaker to see what his reaction would be to those words that she used in Parliament. He let it pass, but you know, we need to be very careful what we say now. But the fact is that the whole thing, as I say, is murky, and you know, and I think there'd be a lot of people very, very concerned about what's going to come out. But the point is, again, yesterday, Jeremy, why was this released at 2 o'clock? We had PMQs. PMQs was boring. I have to say, I thought Kemi was very ineffective yesterday, and yet all this was brewing. Why? And did he come back to the House to face Parliament? No, he didn't. He sent Darren Jones, who, you know, did the best job he could, but at the end of the day... Is
that the man who said the boats are full of women? That makes Keir Starmer a coward, doesn't it?
An utter coward not to come back. He is the head of this Parliament. He is the Prime Minister, and he did not have the wherewithal, the courage to come back into Parliament and face his colleagues, his peers, and answer these questions. I thought that was an absolute disgrace, and yet again, it smacks of the fact that he's got things, you know, that he doesn't want to be confronted with.
In terms of what you hear in Parliament, in the bars, not that you drink and all that sort of stuff, do you believe, maybe a silly question, a Labour MP starting to plot now to remove him, or is this May the 7th election? Nobody wants it now because they'll have to take the failure that will undoubtedly befall the Labour Party. But are they talking openly about that he's gone?
Oh, he's gone. There's no question he's gone. The question is when, but I think that, as you say, nobody wants to take this on until after May the 7th. We will wipe the floor in so many areas now that we've managed to win our case to get elections up and running again. We will wipe the floor with Labour in so many areas, and nobody wants to face that before May the 7th. So he will go, I would imagine, as soon as the last vote is counted, somewhere in an outlying region around the country.
Sorry, did you say the last vote or the last boat? I thought you said the last boat arrived.
Well, don't get us onto boats, and.
Well, I'm gonna get you onto something that I have been spitting feathers with because I don't understand it. Page 15 of the Daily Mail. So while I was away for just 2 days, Christ, it all went on. Shabana Mahmood took all the plaudits. I have banned the Al-Quds Day March, pro-Palestinian march, on Saturday. It cannot happen. And everybody went, good, you've discovered a pair. You are, in fact, the Home Secretary in front of a majority government. Then the marching organisers came back, and this is genuinely a fact, and you were a magistrate. It can go ahead as long as they stand still and are static. So you can... This is the United Kingdom in 2026. If you walk up and down saying hateful things, anti-Semitic things and waving flags, right, you can be stopped. But if you stand still in the same place and don't move, you can wave the same flag and say the same vile things. That just about sums up where the United Kingdom is, doesn't it, Sarah?
Well, I thought when I first heard the news that she'd cancelled the march, I actually did rather a cheeky post and congratulated her on standing up to it. And then we all find out that actually it's a halfway house yet again.
Yeah.
And Shabana Mahmood yet again has announced something that she knows full well doesn't mean genuinely what the British people would have thought it meant when they first heard the news. And in fact, as you say, it's effectively going ahead. These protesters will have to get to wherever they're allowed to stand still.
They've got to march to get there, though, as Margaret said from Birmingham, with their flag.
But Jeremy, listen, the point is that there is a rise in this country of extreme Islam, protesting, terrorism, support for extreme Islam. And we must not ignore it. We must not appease it. We have to clamp down on it and we have to stop it. And the Home Secretary, if she cannot stop a meeting, a protest, whether it's standing still or marching, then what hope is there for this country? I'll tell you what, Jeremy, if I was the Home Secretary, there is no way that anybody would be meeting on Sunday that represents extreme terrorist organisations on our streets in this country. They're a threat to our democracy. They're a threat to our public safety. It would not go ahead under a reform government.
Are you saying that you're worried there could be a potential terrorist threat allied to this march on Saturday?
What I'm saying is that the people that Shabana Mahmood is allowing to march or stand still or whatever she wants to call it represent people that wish to bring death to the West, destruction to the West. Let's not mince our words. These are people that hate everything that people like you and I represent, hate everything that we say, and hate our values and our cultures that we are so desperately now trying to defend. If we allow this sort of hate preaching, this hate marching to go ahead, then we are condoning it. We are effectively condoning it.
I couldn't agree. One quick thing, because we're all very busy, especially you. The Home Office, on the back of that appalling decision yesterday, refused to name how many families, asylum-seeking families, ones that are here illegally, got £40,000 in taxpayers' money to leave Britain. Now, James Price said he understands the optics of this, and I'm a great fan of James, and he said it probably costs a lot more to keep those families there. So economically, you might look at it as a good decision. Optics-wise, it's bloody awful, isn't it? There's 40 grand of taxpayers' money to leave a country you've just broken into. And as Poppy Coburn said earlier, you could play migrant monopoly, bugger off back to France, deposit the money, get in a dinghy and come back.
And do you know that £40,000 for the residents of Runcorn and Helsby represents more than the average salary?
Yeah.
I can tell you for a fact that there are families, hundreds of families living in Runcorn that would love to be earning £40,000 a year, and they have no chance for all sorts of other reasons that we don't have time to get into. But the point is, this Home Secretary is planning on paying a family of up to 4 members £40,000 to return. And you're absolutely right. What's stopping them coming back and going on the merry-go-round? We are a laughing stock in Europe. We are a laughing stock around the world because of our immigration policy. It doesn't matter. And actually, you know what, Jeremy? if indeed it is a cheaper way of doing it, then what an utter disgrace that shows that our system is. If we are saying that it's cheaper to give a family £40,000 to leave, then it means that, well, we know, don't we, that everything is wrong about our benefit system, the way we're supporting asylum seekers. We know that currently we are spending a fifth of our foreign aid budget housing migrants in this country. The British people have had enough. And I tell you, at the ballot boxes on the 7th of May, they will vote, with their feet. They will come out, they will vote for change.
Listen, love having you on, and we managed to do the whole thing without talking about Zack Polanski. Love you, Sarah Poachin, the First Lady of Reform, MP for Runcorn and Helsby, a regular on the show. Thank you very much indeed. 0344 499 1000. It's Thursday morning. Morning, Dan.
Morning, Jesu. It's Dan from Kent. Just think, the man that brushes his teeth with a hammer could, without even being in power, destroy our country even more, because it will force Labour to go even more far left if Starmer eventually goes kicking and screaming. Can't I just have a leader of this nation that puts us first, puts the hard-working Brits first, gets us back on track, simple policies, no scandals, just want that day to come. We need a general election. Great show, mate.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Just gone 20 to 8. We're live across the United Kingdom. Welcome to Thursday, the 12th of March. You're waking up to the news that the Prime Minister is, well, he's a ticking clock, isn't he, to be honest with you? Those files released yesterday proving categorically that he was warned both by the security services and indeed by his own officials that there will be reputational risk employing Lord Mandelson because of his links to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Ignored that, went ahead, and then when he realised it was too late, he sacked him and Mandelson got £75,000 in taxpayers' money, which is outrageous. Many people asking the question this morning, how in the name of God can our Prime Minister, who made rightly quite a lot about how Boris Johnson misled Parliament, if he's lied to Parliament about knowing about Mandelson, surely he has to go. Kemi Badenoch said it. It's screaming in every newspaper, not fit to lead the country. 0344 499 1000. David says, Jez, as Keir Starmer has repeatedly acted against the best interest of the United Kingdom, shouldn't he be stripped of his knighthood? Before we go to our next guest, quick call to Lincolnshire. Ben, you're on Talk Breakfast. 1 minute. What you got, kiddo?
This Al Quds thing.
The march, yes.
The static protest, enshrined under British law, is the right to protest.
Yeah.
If you stop these vile people from protesting, then you can stop English people from protesting, British people from protesting. Personally, listening to your last thing, under a reform government they wouldn't protest. Well, that really, really worries me. I much prefer a government that says that these people aren't English, they're not British, they have no right to be in our country. If they're going to protest for our Kurds, then we're going to round them up and deport them.
I don't understand.
The best way of dealing with it, but you can't ban a protest.
The problem is but the problem is there's duplicity in this decision because it's two-faced. And I'm not just saying this. We've all seen these marches, whether we feel that they're anti-Semitic or whether we feel they're wrong.
Me.
Yeah, they disgust me. And what really disgusts me, if you can be, just give me 30 seconds, is I saw some footage from one, and a guy is stood there with a Union Jack, and the very British police are saying to the guy with the Union Jack, "You can't do that." You can't have, and this is your point you made, you can't have one rule for one and one for the other. It has to either be a blanket approach, but this just about sums up this government. You can still stand there with your dreadful flag and your vile message, but because you're not walking, that is allowed. Thank you, Ben. Very good. 0344 499 1000. Let's go to Tony. If it's OK for the Al-Quds to stand and demonstrate, why are Christian people arrested for standing in the streets and praying? It's two-tier policing. Our next guest, we're getting sorted. Susan, read the static, she put static, march on Saturday. Have a plane standing by heading to Iran. Put a sign up saying, if you support the regime in Iran, free flight available to anyone who wants to live there. My next guest, this is fascinating, Baroness Pauline Neville-Jones, a former UK Security Minister and former chair of the Joint Intelligence Committee. Baroness Pauline Neville-Jones, a very good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Can we get straight to it? As a former UK Security Minister, I want to ask you about our Prime Minister. Those files, partly released yesterday, would show that the Prime Minister was given evidence by the security services as to the danger of employing Peter Mandelson. As a security professional, how does it make you feel when politicians blatantly ignore the advice given?
Well, ministers have the privilege of taking the decision. I think the Prime Minister on this occasion was very much wanted to appoint Mandelson, and from all that you can gather about the process that occurred, it was fairly perfunctory and was designed, I think, in the Prime Minister's mind to reassure him that there was nothing that was so difficult to accept that he couldn't appoint him. In other words, he was doing a sort of check, which, am I right in thinking I can do this? Rather than, what do I need to know? And am I certain that I've got all the information? So I think an attitude of mind was part of the problem. And I think from what Jonathan Powell, who knows the system, said, he was very surprised that it was perfunctory. So I think if a Prime Minister gives an order that he wants a quick job done, which sounds as though that was the case, I mean, that's likely to be the result. And in any case, he was given the very clear signal that there was reputational risk. So, anybody who's appointing somebody to a high-profile job of extreme importance to the country, and is prepared to take that without proper investigation, I mean, is not doing their job.
What does it say about his judgment to you, Pauline?
Well, I think it's a failure of judgment.
I don't want to ask you to become too political, but every single newspaper, Kemi Badenoch saying it this morning. Is he done in your eyes?
Well, it takes quite a lot to do a Prime Minister. I mean, I think as and when that judgment comes, it'll be one of the things that weighs in the balance.
Yeah. I just want to ask you, as a former security minister, I really this whole march rubbish that's on page 15 this morning, pro-Iranian march, initially banned by Shabana Mahmood on Saturday. We now face the ludicrous, and this is proven to be true, this is in the Mail this morning, it's being verified, and I'd love your take on this. A pro-Iranian rally in London will take place, after all, as a static protest. Shabana Mahmood confirmed that she was powerless to block it from going ahead. The Home Secretary approved a Metropolitan Police request to prohibit the annual Al-Quds Day on Sunday to prevent serious public disorder, but a static demonstration based in a single location gets past that and can go ahead. That makes a mockery of almost everything that we believe in, doesn't it, Pauline?
Well, I think what we've got there is a gap in the law. Clearly, what we've done over the years is we used to have pretty lax and pretty minimal legislation on the subject of public rallies, because we had a society that wasn't so inclined to demonstrate against each other and demonstrate the causes that are really contrary to what we actually believe in as a society. So now we have a situation in which the law has been gradually tightened, and I expect that legislation talks about marches and didn't include people standing still. So now they found a gap in the law, and they're going to exploit it. We'll have to close that gap. I disapprove extremely strongly of this demonstration, which doesn't stand for anything that the UK believes in.
That's my point. I completely agree with you. I'm 60 years of age, and I've started to wonder what the UK stands for. I don't understand, and I know people will always throw the statute book at me, how a person who is, the leading politician in the Home Office with a really strong majority in the House of Lords, and we know this, they did it with British Steel, they could bring in a law within 24 hours. There has to be the will to do this. I think it's dangerous. I think you have to live in a society, I get this, where everybody has a right to protest and have their say, but the danger is that when some of that becomes violent and what it means and what it leads to, then we need to be able to take action against those people.
Well, I have no doubt, but I think that the action that's going to follow is that this gap in the law is going to be closed, and it'll be closed pretty fast. It's very important, however, that authority in our society does actually obey the law as it stands. And if there's been a failure of lawmaking, that's to say this is a gap that we should have spotted and should have been closed by Parliament, and by the legislative drafters as well. This is the result you get when people want to exploit the freedoms of our society for causes which don't belong to a free society.
Completely agree.
And so, we got to learn from this, and we mustn't let this kind of thing happen again. But we can stop it, and we must stop it. You're quite right.
Final question for you. Delightful to have you on. How big is the threat of Iranian terrorism on UK soil? Because some people will say these marches are part of that, and we should be clamping down for that reason.
Sorry, I missed that.
How big a threat from Iranian terrorists is there to the United Kingdom population?
They are a threat. They are a threat in our society. They have, the Iranian terrorists have actually tried to kill people in our society. They are a threat. This is no idle bunch of people, who've just got a cause. These are people who actually are a threat. So this is a real problem. I'm not saying everybody who's on that march is a threat, but certainly there are people behind it who are a threat.
But I think that just to
be taken seriously.
I think just to finish, that's the point. We've lived it under governments and a system that says there will be people on that march who are peacefully making their point, but we need to also accept that there are people on that march whose motivation is very different, and that's why the law needs to change. Delighted to have you on, Pauline. Thank you so much indeed. Would love to have had more time. Baroness Pauline Neville-Jones, former UK Security Minister and former chair of the Joint Intelligence Committee. 8 minutes to 8. We're going to go now to a Labour peer, an independent advisor to the UK government on anti-Semitism. Lord Mann. John, a very good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. How are you?
I'm all right.
Let's cut to the chase. I'd love more time. It's the end for Starmer, isn't it?
Well, it's the end for McSweeney, that's for sure.
Well, he's gone. Not McSweeney, John. I don't want to argue with you. Come on. The man isn't... All of you jumped up and down with Boris Johnson, I understand that. The man has lied to the House of Commons. His advisers told him not to employ Mandelson. The security services don't employ Mandelson. Reputational risk, both himself, his government and his country, and he went ahead. He's a dead man walking, John, isn't he? Come on.
If he has lied to the Commons, of course, that's the case. But these papers don't quite do that. What they do is put what we kind of knew already, McSweeney in the frame, And
who
we need to
employed
wait for the next-
McSweeney? Who employed McSweeney? Come on, you can't let Starmer off the hook because another person's going to take the blame. The man's judgment. I think this is a really important point. A lot of people listening and watching this would say his judgment has been proven again to be utterly, utterly wrong. He's out of his depth as the Prime Minister of this country.
Well, he's not helped by Jonathan Powell, who's been around a long time, having advised in relation to Mandelson. But the documents say he advised McSweeney. Now, if that was passed on to the Prime Minister, of course, he's in big problems.
But we know it was, John. I'm not trying to be difficult. It was passed on.
We don't. No, those documents don't do that. And I think people.
I'm sure that any more that come out will prove. Jonathan Powell said it's been rushed. It's weird.
If you're right, that's very major for him. The next set of documents are going to be the crucial ones, and that's. We thought it was going to be this set of documents that decided one way or other who's actually to blame for this. And the critical question, did Mandelson lie or not? He says he didn't. And we still wait to see that. And that's going to be the critical determining factor.
I think it will go down in history as the reason that this government failed. Well, there's many reasons, but this will be the end. Just very quickly, I know you're the independent advisor to the UK government on anti-Semitism. This is a subject very close to my heart because all I hear your government talking about is Islamophobia laws. What was it the other day? An anti-Muslim czar. I have many Jewish friends whose kids still can't wear their blazers on school buses because of the way that they're treated. There's a rally on Saturday, the Al-Quds rally, that your Home Secretary did ban but now can't if they stand still. That will be anti-Semitic. Why isn't Labour doing more to ban it?
Well, I think the Jewish community, I think the feedback I have from the community is that the community is delighted that that march is not marching. And that's a step forward. That is quite a moment for the Jewish community. That hasn't happened before, that these powers have been used. The feedback I met with Jewish communal leaders yesterday, is that's been very well received. They want to see more of this.
You can still stand still and wave your vile message and your flag, which is anti-Semitic, but you can't walk up and down doing it. Is that a move forward?
It depends what the banners say. The feedback I get from the Jewish community is they feel that at last they've been listened to in terms of the demonstrations, and this is a sign of that. What they want is consistency. That's what I heard. I heard yesterday, I hear repeatedly. A consistency of approach in this. They haven't seen that over many years, over the last year with the demonstrations. They see this as a very positive step forward. They want to see more of it.
Your government has a massive... I haven't got much time, bless you, but your government's got a massive majority. Why don't they just bring in laws that ban hate marches that basically are anti-Semitic? You advise the government. Why don't you advise them that?
Well, I have, and some of these laws have been brought in, and more is to come. Lord MacDonald's been tasked with the detail of how this should be done. He's going to be reporting. I expect that to be significant. The law will change. The government's given that commitment. That is my advice to government. My advice is we keep our Jewish community safe, including safe from marches. And this is a step in that direction. The Lord MacDonald report will be very, very determining. That's what the government said.
I've got 30 seconds. Have you been massively...
Parliament will back them.
Have you been massively disappointed in this Prime Minister and this government? 10 seconds.
I'd like to see much clearer stuff on the economy, on jobs, on costs of living. They're the big things. And by the way, on corruption, Mandelson should have been booted out straight away. And anyone else doing anything like him should be booted out.
I would love to have more time. We'll get you back. Lawman, thank you very much indeed. Talk Breakfast News at 8 next.
DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk. Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Very good morning to you. Just gone 8 o'clock. Welcome to Talk Breakfast. It's the home of common sense and it's the home of the alarm clock Brits. The sun is up, the skies are darkening, and I hope whatever you're doing today, you're having a good one. Whether you're just off with the kids, you're at school, already you're at work, you're coming back from the night shift. This is a station where you can have your say on the news of the day. 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. What are you waking up to? Well, you're waking up to a Prime Minister on whom the clock is ticking. It's been ticking for bleeding ages, but really, those first tranche of Epstein files, well, Mandelson files released yesterday, show categorically he was warned by the security services, by his closest advisors, that Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein was an issue and could cause reputational risk. He ignored everybody, including Jonathan Powell, the National Security Advisor, who's seriously not... Well, anyway, there we go. He said this is weirdly too quick. You need to think about it. But no, ahead went Starmer, and we know how it ended. And here, by the way, if you're at work or you're thinking, how hard is my life? Here's the real kick in the bits. Starmer paid him 75 grand, which officials describe as worth it because he originally wanted $500,000. So you've lied how to get your job, you're a paedophile sympathiser, and the British taxpayer's given you £75,000. And I don't care, any politician will come on and say to me, well, you know, that's the system. Well, the system's wrong. Try explaining that to hard-working Brits. Ludicrous, ludicrous story. At the same time, I mean, you know, the Home Office yesterday admitting two things that frankly have sent you into, well, derision. The first is that they refuse to reveal how many asylum seeker families. Can we just say, by the way, these are people who have broken into our country illegally. They refuse to say how many of them have been given £40,000 tax-free to go home. There are people on the show saying it makes financial sense. I'll talk again about optics. That is nearly, well, that's nearly 1.5 times the average salary. What are we talking about? Monopoly, migrant monopoly, what you can break into this country, get a house, get a card, get some money, and then be sent home with 40 grand that you put in a bank, and you get back on a dinghy and come back, don't pass go, and you collect 40,000. What an absolute joke. And then if we really want to hear what's getting me to go this morning, it's this on page 15 of the Daily Mail. While I was away, Shabana Mahmood, we thought had done something good. She cancelled this Al-Quds Day march on Sunday, which is pro-Iranian. Everybody, security services and people admit that this is a hate march and it shouldn't go ahead. And she announced that it wasn't. And then we face as a country the ludicrous truth this morning that it will go ahead as a static rally. So we live in a country, peeps, where hate cannot walk, but it can stand still and wave a flag and get away with it. 0344 499 1000, text 287 I'm delighted to be joined only on the phone. Technical difficulties again. Former Deputy Foreign Secretary, Tory MP Andrew Mitchell. Andrew, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
We'll talk Iran. We'll talk Al-Quds. Do you mind talking about Starmer? Have you not had your breakfast? Will it put you off? I don't know.
We can talk about whatever you want.
You see, I was a Johnson fan and then I got very angry. But I believe that part of Boris Johnson's downfall was about lying to the House of Commons. Is it not fair to say that this man has lied about the Mandelson debacle? I know Kemi eventually got him to say, but surely when we look at a Prime Minister whose closest advisers and the security services have told him not to do something, and he still goes ahead, not only do we have to question his judgment, but we have to question why he hasn't been truthful with the public and the House of Commons, don't we, Andrew Mitchell?
Well, we have to do precisely that, and the problem at the moment is that all the information has not been released, so we don't have the full picture. The reason for that is because there's a police investigation taking place, and quite rightly, the criminal justice system does not want to prejudice that investigation. But on the basis of what we've seen so far, it does appear that the Prime Minister's judgment was absolutely appalling. And we must suspend judgment until we have all the information.
But Kemi Badenoch hasn't suspended. Andrew, Kemi Badenoch, your leader, hasn't suspended judgment. She has said categorically, front page of the Mail, he's not fit to lead this country, and has said he's a liar.
Well, I very much fear that he is going to not be Prime Minister by the end of this year. And part of the reason for that, there's a number of reasons for that, but part of the reason for that is the treatment of the position of the British ambassador in Washington. But I'm just trying to be fair. I think we need to have all the information before we reach a final judgment. But Kemi Badenoch is absolutely right to flag up the fact that his judgment on this matter appears to have been absolutely appalling.
And you've been a politician a long time, and one thing that I keep saying about Starmer, and don't get me wrong, by the time you lot finished, I don't think the British public were listening to a thing the Tories were saying, and I think this man almost won by default. They call it the Ming Vase approach. But it seems to me, Andrew, that almost every decision this guy makes is fundamentally flawed. We can talk about pensioners, waspy women, we can talk about farmers, we can talk about U-turns on almost everything. I don't think in my lifetime, and I've lived through Liz Truss and Boris Johnson and Theresa May, I don't think I have ever known a more unpopular and seemingly incompetent Prime Minister. And I love your view on this. You're a professional politician. From my point of view, I don't think it's in his DNA. I don't think it's in him. I don't think that he has political nous, political nerve. I don't think he's got anything that he believes in. I think it's loyally, it's administrative, and it's a failure, a real failure.
Well, certainly the extraordinary number of U-turns on really important issues, some of which have destabilised the markets, like the leaks ahead of the budget, the U-turns on welfare, the U-turns on a huge number of things, have been very bad for living standards, which Keir Starmer's government claimed to be the top of the list of their priorities. I think many people believe that Sir Keir Starmer is first and foremost a lawyer and not a politician. And I think a lot of that comes out in the way in which he's conducting himself as Prime Minister.
Do you think he's a liar?
I've always made it an absolute rule not to throw around terms like liar against opposition politicians. I think it doesn't enhance the political debate, and I think the public don't awfully like it either. But what I can say is that we are going to be able to see, thanks to the decision that members of Parliament made about the release of all this information, we are going to be able to see, once all the information is released, as it will be, precisely what the position was on Peter Mandelson and the judgment of the Prime Minister on it.
It's very interesting, isn't it? Because, of course, what people will throw back at him over this is that he nearly fell when he tried to deny Parliament the right to have that vote and to have those files released because of, you know, the ongoing police investigation. That was a sort of blanket approach. Just one view as well. One quick question for you, my friend. A lot of people up in arms about this today. £75,000 to pay Mandelson off. I've had politicians this morning, Andrew, say to me, oh, it's good sense. Try explaining that to alarm clock Brits. That's twice the national wage, tax-free, for failing and lying in your job.
Well, if he didn't tell the truth, and again, we are we are unable to reach a final judgment on this because not all the information has been released. But if he didn't tell the truth, then it is inexplicable that he was paid any of this hard-earned taxpayers' money. But I just want to emphasise on what you were saying before, that it was a good day for Parliament when Parliament forced the government to release all this information through a device called a humble address. But it means that they will have to release everything, because the executive, ministers, the Prime Minister, Downing Street, have to remember that it is Parliament that is sovereign, and that they don't boss members of Parliament around. It's members of Parliament who hold the executive to account. And that was a very good example, led, I have to say, by Kemi Badenoch. It was a very good example of Parliament doing just that.
Very quickly, but not very quickly, but I want to talk about Iran. You were the former Deputy Foreign Secretary, and I was away for a couple of days this week, but I was right here at the helm when our inability to send a boat as quick as Luxembourg, that's a landlocked country. I was here whilst Starmer, and let's make the point, I made it last week, there are many people in this country who feel that he made the right decision in terms of not being there initially. Your party and others, and probably me, also believe that he should have been far more forwards in offering bases and the relationship and all that. But a story this morning in the Mail, Andrew, Defence Chief clashed with Number 10 over UK's failure to send British carriers into the conflict zone. He could certainly have done more. He will have known about the build-up. It's more, to me, it was just a shameful thing that made us look appalling on the world stage.
Yes, it felt in Parliament when he made the explanation that he did. I said that his response had been anemic and disappointing. And it is, frankly, embarrassing that the Turks, the Greeks and the French have got warships to defend Cyprus, and Britain has not, and very worrying indeed. And on the issue of using bases, to keep Britain out of attacking Iran is a judgment the Prime Minister made, and people can decide whether that was right or not. But I think what was unforgivable was the refusal to allow the bases to be used by the Americans. And I say that because this is not Iraq. It's not Vietnam, for those with very long memories. They weren't asking us to join in. They were just asking that these bases, where we have a very specific strategic agreement with the Americans, should be used for refueling. And to deny them that, I think, was a big mistake. And I find myself very much agreeing with what Donald Trump said, that, you know, you simply don't treat one of your key allies like that.
Couldn't agree more. Finally, my friend, lovely to have you on. Explain to me, as a politician with great experience, a hate pro-Iranian...
Say that.
Well, it's true. A pro-Iranian hate march that was banned initially by Shabana Mahmood when I was away on Tuesday. Everybody jumped up and down and said, well done, Shabana, it's a hate march, it should be banned. Let's leave the people who go, everybody should be allowed. These people are spreading anti-Semitism and a horrible message. Just stand up for Jews for a change. Now, apparently, Andrew, to sum up where we're at in this country in 2026, we'll go ahead as a static rally, which means under this government, who have a majority and they can change the law in 24 hours, if you wave a hateful flag and say terrible things about Jews and walk, you're banned, but you can stand still and do the same damn thing. It's farcical, isn't it?
Well, I think Shamima Mahmood was quite right to ban it.
Yeah.
And I think it's right that the Home Secretary should show muscular intent when dealing with these dreadful people. I'm absolutely astonished that the police will now allow those to assemble and shout hateful and possibly criminal slogans from a static position. I do not think that should be allowed to go ahead, and I think many members of Parliament will feel precisely the same.
Great to have you on, Andrew. Thank you. I know we're going to try and do Zoom at some point, but thank you so much indeed for joining the Breakfast Show. Andrew Mitchell, former Deputy Foreign Secretary in the Tory government, just gone 8:15. We're live across the United Kingdom. The thing that's getting you goat this morning, goat, don't start, is indeed, well, it's the Al-Quds March. I mean, Andrew Mitchell just said it. How is it that you can ban a hateful march, the message that it spreads, but you can allow the people to stand there statically and wave the same flags and spout the same crap? Morning, Lisa.
Morning, Jezza. It's Lisa from Canterbury. With regards to this pro-Palestine march, where they're allowed to do it statically, does that also mean that we can stand statically and all wave our British flags? Because it seems to me it's once again two-tier. I mean, it's very easy for them to change the law overnight if they wanted to do it, because they certainly are able to lock up people overnight when they want to.
Couldn't agree more. 0344 499 1000. Your text, Bill, thank you. Why is it that the Speaker of the Commons, Jez, can threaten to eject an MP for calling, in this instance, Starmer a liar yesterday, but not admonish the liar for not telling the truth? Andrew Mitchell is a professional politician who's been around a long time, and, you know, his leader's on the front saying he's not fit to lead the country. I'll tell you one thing about the remaining files. That, let's get this straight, that Starmer tried to ban you from hearing. They didn't want any of them, right? It will absolutely implicate him. He is a dead man walking. The only reason he's in power for the next 7 weeks is because nobody wants to take... It's a bit like it's a bit like if you offered anybody the chance to manage Spurs right now. They'd laugh in your bleeding face. Jez, why don't politicians just come out and call each other liars if they're lying? Why is it such a big deal? I don't know. Maybe they worry that the Mirror might... No. Jez, if I was sacked, I'm sure I wouldn't get a 75k payout. Well, of course you would. I've fired Damien this morning for being rubbish, and he's how much did you ask for, Damien? £700,000. Jesus Christ. James in Liverpool says, I feel like I'm living in a surreal other world. Never did I think that sane British people would take seriously, let alone vote for, a breast nurturer. If you've missed this, because basically I've got to do this with you, because breakfast, people tune in and tune out the whole time. Zack Polanski. I made it my life's ambition after Gorton and Denton. If the Greens are going to be the next government, they will be the next government. But I think we need to talk about these people and their ludicrous policies. Heroin legalised. Really try telling that to victims, families. Open borders. Not just a phrase. Come to our country wherever you're from. You're all going to get a house. You don't have to work, and we'll give you a salary and we'll look after you. The man's a nut job. You might have heard us say that we discovered that he genuinely used to be a hypnotherapist who made money out of making women's breasts bigger. This is true. He's called Hypnotits. Anyway, he started to distance himself from this story until unearthed was the BBC Humberside 2013 interview, because The Sun did a job on Zack Polanski 10 years ago. They sent an undercover reporter to see if indeed her breasts could enlarge. Just listen to Zack Polanski. This is brilliantly weird.
There was an article in The Sun last week where a client came to see me who was a journalist, and we had a successful project. We've done it a couple of times, and there seems to be no shift, but actually increasingly more and more as I work with people, there's starting to become anecdotal evidence, at least, of growth in breast size.
But not from last week, though, I assume.
Yes, actually, with her breast size in the Sun article, she says that she grew 4 inches. It didn't change her cup size. She stayed the same cup size, but she said it was a tighter fit.
So they actually grew?
Yep, according to a journalist.
8:20. What better time than to cross live to Westminster? On the round, the Deputy Chairman of the Tory Party, Matt Vickers. Matt, mate, seriously, can I just... Don't say a word, just listen to me. There's anecdotal growth, and her breasts went up 4 inches. And this man is beating you in the opinion polls right now. Not a good look.
Hypnotits, the things people would do for 4 inches. Crikey.
But honestly, I do think it's right. And I'm not... You lot wouldn't do it because you're politicians. I think we need to call this man out. It's a nut job. Legalise heroin, open borders.
He's actually a very dangerous individual. Everybody thinks these fluffy, cuddly green folk are sort of something to... Actually, very dangerous, some real dangerous policies. They want brothels on high streets across the country. They want to legalise drugs. They want to open the doors to whatever wants to come into the country. Nuclear disarmament. It's scary stuff, very scary stuff. There are people out there daft enough to vote for them.
Maybe you should go to see Zack to make sure your polling grows.
Well, I'm not convinced about his ability to make things grow, but we'll see. We'll see. Probably as people hear a bit more about him and learn a bit more about him, our polling might grow.
Matty, front page of the Mail. Badenoch, I think, absolutely spot on yesterday. Not fit to lead the country. Andrew Mitchell was just on. I like Andrew. He reminds me of the old-fashioned politician who doesn't want to say too much, and I get that, but a few of the files and more to come categorically proving that our Prime Minister knew, because he was warned by his closest aides and by the security services, that giving Mandelson the job as UK ambassador to America would cause reputational risk because of his close relationship to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, and yet he went ahead and he sanctioned 75 grand to pay this bloke off. The optics are appalling, and you can only think that Kemi's right. He isn't fit to run this bloody country, is he?
It shows a complete and utter failure of judgment. He said to us when this thing broke, he said if he knew now, if he knew then what he knows now, he wouldn't have appointed him. Well, it's very clear from these documents. He knew everything then, and he still appointed him. He appointed this man to the highest and most prestigious diplomatic post that this country has to offer, despite knowing that the guy was completely and utterly linked to one of the most sick and vile paedophiles ever to walk the earth. While that guy was in prison, Mandelson was staying at his house. It doesn't get any worse than that. And then £75,000 of taxpayers' money handed over to him as a retirement gift. Unacceptable, entirely unacceptable, but it isn't really telling us any more about the Prime Minister, because we already know he's not fit to lead this country. He's in office, he's not actually in government, he's not running this country, he's trashing our economy, he's trashing our standing on the world stage. Entirely unacceptable. He's got to go. That lot in there have to grow a backbone and get rid of him.
Does this Mandelson file debacle seal his fate, or was his fate sealed anyway, Matt?
I mean, it should have been sealed. It should have been sealed. When you look at what's happening across this country, businesses going to the wall at the fastest rate since the world economic crash. 24% more people unemployed. The lowest level of graduate recruitment ever. It's not by accident. It's because Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer decided to slam businesses across the country with a jobs tax. They've decided to heave up business rates for all those businesses in high streets across the country, and now they're tying them up in this big red tape monster that's the Employment Rights Bill. That's why people are out of work. That's why people's lives across this country are being destroyed. It's all his fault. And now we're here about this shambolic situation with this appointment that's letting us down. That's actually just an embarrassment to this country that would send somebody like that to represent us in the US.
I don't know whether you agree with me or not, but I can only ever, whenever I hear these stories, convince myself that this man must have a shed load of dirt on all of them and will squeal like a pig when he goes down. I'm being completely honest. I don't understand. Even my 2-year-old would have not given Mandelson the job, right? And she can't speak. I'm not even making a joke of it. It doesn't. It's almost like it's like destroying yourself if you kiss Starmer. It makes no sense. And then you just dig deeper and you think, I'm not conspiratorial, but it does make me think that Mandelson has got them all dancing to his tune.
Well, when you see what's gone on, I mean, there's now an investigation going on in the police with debate about money, what money went where and what state secrets went where. We're going to see what comes out with that. But actually, this £75,000 payout, they gave him that to avoid a tribunal, to avoid being taken to court. Anybody looking at this would have thought the cards were in the government's side rather than Peter Mandelson's, yet still there's some sort of buyout, some sort of cover-up. They give him £75,000, and it's the money that belongs to all those people who are on the way to work this morning. That is public money that they've dished out to keep him stum. Completely unacceptable, and I think there's a hell of a lot more to come.
Matty, just before we leave Starmer, Boris Johnson, and you know, I was very supportive. He wasn't everybody's cup of tea. In the end, was it Pincher or was it lying to the Commons, misleading the Commons? He went. Can you explain to me how a Prime Minister who has patently lied to the House of Commons, why there hasn't been a vote of no confidence and where the same pressure hasn't been brought to bear on him that was brought on Boris Johnson quite rightly in the end?
Because he has a lot of spineless backbenchers, huge number, huge parliamentary majority in there, which prevents us holding him to account. The reality is it's not a one-off. This is a pattern of behaviour. We had Mandelson, closely linked to the most vile paedophile ever to walk the earth, appointed by Keir Starmer. We've then seen Keir Starmer's former head of comms, Matthew Doyle, appointed to the House of Lords, despite the fact he had links to child sex offenders. It's entirely unacceptable. They're in there, they're only serving themselves. It can't go on much longer, surely.
Was Cammy right then? Is Starmer a pedo defender?
Well, I think that's entirely the space that we're in. That's what people are saying out there to Labour MPs, and it's not without base, is it?
Now, I'm just going to expect Matt not to self-implode, but I fear he will, because I know he shares my disdain for this next story. Shabana Mahmood. She banned this Al-Quds Day hate march, pro-Iranian hate march, due on Sunday in London, and said there's a sign that it's linked to terrorism, there's a sign that it's hateful, it's a sign that it's anti-Semitic, we shouldn't have it on our streets. I come in this morning to read that they've managed to get over this and she's powerless to act, apparently, because they're going to stand still. Two questions. Are you seriously telling me that this country is so on its backside that it's that simple? This government has a massive majority and we know could bring in a law within 24 hours to get these horrible people off our streets. Why won't they do it then? Because they're pandering again, aren't they? These marches should be stopped, shouldn't they?
When you see what goes on at these hate marches in central London, where Jewish people are intimidated, daren't set foot in central London because of the vile that is spewed from these people, the banners, the nature of the banners that these people are carrying, it can't go on like this. People should not be intimidated and threatened to walk around the streets of our capital city. It's entirely unacceptable. A hell of a lot more needs to be done. Yet at the same time, earlier the week, we're hearing about this Islamophobia definition, about picking and choosing which races, which religions,
and
which
also the the anti-hate Muslim czar. I'd like to respectfully suggest that I haven't heard anything about an hate anti-Semitism czar. Why is not the same credence given to my Jewish friends as given to everybody else, it seems?
The reality is we have legislation in this country, we have laws to prevent hate crimes, to prevent discrimination. They need to be enforced consistently.
Are they working? Are they adequate enough, though, Matty? Are they adequate enough, man? They aren't.
If the government, if those people who are in charge and responsible for deciding what our police officers do on our streets pick up the baton and use that legislation properly, then it will be. It's about enforcement. It's about standing up to those people who dare to walk down the streets of this great nation with those horrific banners shouting those horrific and entirely unacceptable things.
But just to finish, are you like me? You go, right, so you're banned from marching, but you can stand and wave the same awful flag, spewing the same rubbish out of your mouths, and we as a country are going to do nothing about it. Again, to me, laughing stock. Laughing stock.
It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful that people are intimidated from walking around the streets of our capital city by these things. The law is there. The police can enforce it. They can take action. There are things to prevent hate crimes, to prevent discrimination, to prevent racism. It just needs to be enforced. It needs to be enforced consistently for anybody who dares to wave such horrific banners and spew such awful, vile, racist crap.
Are you gonna thank me before you leave? Because I phoned up Kemi as you asked me to and said to her, can you push Matt a bit with the morning round and everything? And she said, absolutely. No answer.
Well, you stood me up on Tuesday. I was there. Where were you? You're out partying, weren't you?
I was at Cheltenham, and I'm happy to announce at 8:30 on a Thursday morning, having been there for a couple of days, that I think some blood is just seeping back into my alcohol stream. I had to have a bit of fun, son, but I'll see you next Tuesday, and thank you so much. Good man, good man. We like him very much. Deputy Chairman, sort of sounded like Trump. We like him very much. He's a lovely man, him. He's a lovely man, Maddie. Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, 8:30, we're live across the United Kingdom. Yeah, Starmer the liar. Is he toast? I like this. Joanna from Salisbury. Hi, Jez. Mandelson and Starmer. Looking forward to hearing the rest of the police files held back, but the first file has already proved that Starmer is a liar, and he lied to Parliament. How much more do we need to go? We don't. The only reason, think Spurs, I'm telling you this, if you're a Spurs fan, I'm sorry. Spurs, nobody wants to manage Spurs. Nobody wants to take over from Starmer ahead of the local elections, because they will go, do you know what? It's on you. Goodbye. What do you make about this Iranian march? Imagine that. You can't walk up and down saying Christian is a crap producer, but you can stand still in the side of the office with a banner saying, I mean, not that he is, he's the best. Morning, Tony.
Good morning, Jeremy. Tony from North Somerset. The thing to do with this Al-Quds march is, I've just been listening to your last guest, the Labour peer. They shouldn't even have the opportunity to march. I'm all for freedom of speech and things like that, but we know these people want to do us harm. It's like pouring a can of petrol on a fire. We cannot allow this sort of threat. We never had this 40 years ago. We had poll tax marches, and that was about it. Never had anyone threatening to shoot you, kill you, do whatever, maim you. Gutless, absolutely gutless by the Home Secretary, and again, gutless by this government.
Every Monday to Wednesday, midnight until 1, it is Talkback.
Such a shortage of housing. You've got landlords, right, have taken that on board, and it's an absolute disgrace.
Your stories, your opinions, it is your chance to have your say. So they're literally just being rented out as hotels, basically.
Yeah, rent a load of hotels.
Well, that has really shone a light for me.
UK on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. 25 to 9. We're live across the UK. It's JK on Breakfast to Talk, the home of common sense and the home, of course, of Alarm Clock Brits. Whatever you want to talk about, this is your chance. So your views on the news of the day. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. Crisis everywhere today. It's all about Mandelson, the files, Starmer, the liar, 75 grand as a payoff, the Home Office refusing to say how many people have taken that attractive offer of leaving the country that they broke into illegally with £40,000, as Poppy Coburn said in the first hour, and many of you won't have heard, but it was genius. It's a bit like migrant monopoly now, isn't it? Arrive in boat, get house, don't build a hotel or house, just get given it, spend a bit of time, get back in, well, take 40 grand, go past go home, put the money, but come back again with a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a joke. And the Al-Qads March that has been banned, or was banned on Sunday, because it's a hate march, and stuff that comes out of those people's mouths I don't want on the streets of Britain, is going to go ahead because there's legally nothing the Home Office can do because apparently they're going to stand still. Welcome to Great Britain in 2026. Jez, very clear. Civil Service HR decided that Mandelson had a reasonable claim for unfair dismissal. All were fully aware of something, hence the payoff to avoid it all coming out in court later. Joe says, Zack Polanski has obviously hypnotised himself as he's become a much bigger tit than he's ever been before, says Joe from Shrewsbury, which is fantastic. And Dan, interesting, this is all about Zack Polanski. I think the journalist who believed her boobs had enlarged by 4 inches after a session with Zack the Prat has more than likely accidentally put her bra on a hot wash. Brilliant. Polanski, Robert Morris, does he just do women? The wife says I could do with an appointment with him. I do apologise. 0344 499 1000. It's been a couple of days. This man moves the dial and says stuff that I'm totally in agreement with. Delighted to welcome back Andrew Loney, of course, author of Entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning.
After a couple of days at Cheltenham, I'm back at the wheel, my friend. I don't know really where to start. I'll tell you what, let's start slightly differently with Meghan Markle. I don't know your views on Meghan Markle. I'd love to, but so low has the bar been reached now that having lost their Netflix deal, she's going to a wellness retreat in Australia where for 1,400 quid you can learn about her experiences as a working mother. I don't mean to be rude, Andrew. I really don't. But how far has the monarchy fallen? Forgetting Epstein a minute, if a duchess is selling... It's a bit like meet me at the supermarket for 35 quid, isn't it? It's awful.
Yes, well, I mean, we've had this with Fergie for about 40 years. And I think the monarchy needs to sort of get its act together and actually, you know, put some pressure on these people. Because if they are members of the royal family, this is not the way to act. And I think this is just a good example of why we need to get rid of titles for anyone except the direct line, and for the royal family to cut these people loose, let them go off and do things, but not monetize their royal status to do so.
I've never been in more agreement with you. I don't understand that if you want to... I mean, it's quite supportive when they wanted to leave, right, go. But the minute they landed in America with a $112 million Spotify deal, I'm thinking to myself, I thought you were leaving because you didn't like the intrusion. And you're making money out of slagging off the very thing that you say you don't want to be part of. And actually then we can bring it to Fergie and the girls. Talking more about the Andrew situation, I've loads of questions about him. You said to me on Monday, she's undoubtedly in trouble, but the girls as well. And more seems to come out about how different parts of the royal family have monetised and used their connections to feather their own nests, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's been going on for 40 years. I mean, Fergie was doing it, doing interviews with Hello shortly after she got married, and the palace did nothing. And I think they've just been more and more confident, some of these royals, that they can do this. But it, as you say, it undermines totally the reputation of the monarchy, you know, I think the monarchy needs to, or the palace needs to be much tougher with these people, because it does undermine any respect for the institution.
And I do think that word's really important, the institution, because I think it's in real crisis. There was a Commonwealth service, I don't know if you saw this lip reader, I don't know, professional lip readers worry me really, I have to keep my mouth shut. She swears by the fact that Prince William told Prince Anne, I've had enough of hearing his damn name, referring to Andrew, which would be easily verifiable. Do you hold some store that the monarchy could survive in that man's hands, William, once all of this mess is gone?
Yes, I think he has a very clear idea of what needs to be done, and it has to be quite drastic. In fact, Norman Baker, a former Liberal MP, and I are beginning a campaign, which I hope maybe you will help us with, to introduce integrity into public life, proper accountability and transparency into the royal family. We have a whole series of things that we're suggesting that they could do and will have to do if they want to command any continuing respect and trust. It's not rocket science, but they do need to grasp the nettle in a way that they haven't so far.
And I think there's of course I'll throw my support behind, I know Norman really well, and actually I think the transparency thing is really important, because I think it's now or never, Andrew. I don't think the British public are not going to be... I just think there's going to need to be more explanation. For example, right, Andrew, Wood Farm, right, out of public way, but subsidised still by his brother, who's providing him with a chef and a valet. Now, if you try explaining to hard-working Brits that a man whose best friend was a paedophile, and there are accusations that Andrew could well have been involved in underage girls, they're going, so why am I going to work when this disgusting Lothario is being paid to have a life of luxury? That's the problem.
Yes, no, I mean, and I think we need to get, for example, Beatrice and Eugenie out of subsidised accommodation in royal palaces when they have no working role as royals. I think the thing that's worrying me is that on one hand, the palace is saying that they will cooperate with the police and the law must follow its course. And yet I'm hearing stories of civil servants, for example, involved with Andrew, being reminded of their obligations of confidentiality. We had this in December with some of the policemen who've been involved in protection. Now we're getting it with civil servants. And I'm finding that people are still reluctant to talk because of pressure they're having behind the scenes. This doesn't suggest a full and open investigation. So
but that's the interesting thing, right? You're absolutely right. cracks will appear, but there will still be this sort of wall of silence that needs breaking. Who's telling them to keep quiet? Because it's all out there, isn't it, Andrew? Who's saying you can't tell us the truth?
Well, this is coming from their superiors, and they're worried about their pensions and other things. So this is coming from senior civil servants to other civil servants who are involved in dealing with Andrew. I mean, what's fascinating is behind the scenes, they'll talk about, everyone knew about the problems of Andrew, but no one seems, as you say, prepared to go public on it, which is why I think we do need this parliamentary investigation. And a lot of these people, the former heads of UKTI, know everything, but they've refused to talk to anyone up till now. I think they have an obligation, not just to their own conscience, but to the public, to actually come clean about what was going on. I've got stories of diplomats supplying escorts for Andrew on his trips abroad.
It's just like, you're telling me that people... It's really interesting, isn't it? Because those people who are keeping quiet for whatever reasons, it will come out. That's the beauty of what you do. That's the beauty of a media that wants to find out stuff that the nation should know about. The media has been criticised rightly in the past. This is a story that needs to be... I've just had a text from somebody who said, I love listening to Angelani. Could he answer this? If the British taxpayer is indirectly subsidising the royal family, we're therefore paying for Andrew's current lifestyle. Does Andrew think that? Does Andrew Loney think that the ex-Duke of York has literally become part of Benefits Britain?
Yes, he has, absolutely, and he has for a long time. I mean, I think that's what's so extraordinary, that on these trips as a trade envoy, he was booking in a week's holiday off the back of the taxpayer, staying in hotels that we paid for, travel paid for by us. So you were talking about the immigrants coming here for their 40,000, but he's cost us far more than that if you look at it over 10 years.
And what does he return? I mean, there's an extraordinary story today, which is why I wanted you on. There's a guy called Lex Wexner who basically was the boss of Victoria's Secret, the underwear and lingerie firm. He became very close friends with Epstein. He actually sold Epstein the now famous Lolita Express. He's been in front of Congress in the US following the release of the Epstein files, following on from the Clintons who were called. Yesterday he let it out that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor pretended to be a second-hand plane salesman to Lex Wexner, boasting that he'd help his mum, the Queen, buy a private jet off him. I mean, the more you hear this, it's extraordinary, Andrew.
Well, he was a bit of a fantasist, but actually that's true. He did actually help buy one of the, I think it was a helicopter actually, for the Queen's flight. So yes, he was used. I mean, he did know about helicopters, so that seems fair enough. But yes, he was busy hawking himself in the way that Fergie was hawking herself around businessmen. I mean, she had even less to offer than he had, but they were hanging around business meetings, picking up business cards, and that's exactly what the daughters have done.
Can I ask you a question that came to me the other day after we'd finished speaking? And I do try and put all sides. And somebody had said to me off air the other day, they understand what Andrew is and what he's done, but is the pylon... Is it enough now? What's, you know, listen, I'm on your side, but I always have to put both sides. Do we not, or should we not be cutting him some slack now? What about his mental situation is what this person said.
Well, I mean, I have inquired about his mental health, and I mean, he's not at all remorseful. He's not at all suffering in any way. I mean, he's more obsessed with where he's going to park his cars and why the horses aren't on his doorstep to go riding, and all the frustrations of being chaperoned. So I wouldn't feel too sorry for him. I mean, there's a lot more still to come out about him and the rest of the family, which I think will shock people.
Can't wait for the paperback, my friend, and literally love having you on. And for people who haven't got it, go and get it, entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York. Thank you, Andrew. Always a pleasure, never a chore. Andrew Loney on Talk Breakfast, 8:45, 0344 499 1000. They're all getting it. Is that a new one, Tony? Morning, Tone.
Good morning, Jez. Tony from Worcester. I've just driven 4 hours to York for my first job to pay taxes for our friends from across the water to put them in hotels. Your comments on this static march protest thing that's going ahead on the weekend. I'm sure there's laws in place under public order. If someone's standing in a public place and they're causing harassment, alarm or distress to someone, a police officer can go and speak to them and ask them for their details to report them to court. And if they refuse to give those details, they can be arrested on the spot.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, 11 minutes to 9. We're live across the United Kingdom. We wait with bated anticipation from Rob from Newcastle. His voice note on the way, 0344 499 1000. Delighted to welcome. I don't know, have I spoken to this lady before? Probably. I'm getting old, I forget. A beacon of sense in London. The leader of the Conservative group in the London Assembly, Susan Hall. A very good morning. Welcome to Talk Breakfast.
Good morning.
I watched a clip of you asking, well, I've watched many clips of you asking that Egypt Sadiq Khan just basic, simple questions. I don't think I've ever seen anybody try and move the goalposts. I don't know how you're still sane. I don't understand the woman's question. Yes, you do. It's very simple. Are there grooming gangs operating in London? Have we got a clip, actually? I just want to play this clip for everybody by way of respect for Susan as well. Have a watch, have a listen.
I'm asking you, do we have those sort of gangs in London?
I'm not sure why she's so nervous to say what she means. What do you mean?
No. I am saying exactly what I mean. I'm saying, have we got any of those grooming gangs in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If she could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
Susan, how do you deal with a man who categorically refuses to answer a question that's put very honestly and very openly?
He's like that all the time. But when you've got a subject as serious as this, it's an absolute disgrace. And the thing that really gets me is that he would have known what I meant, and there's all sorts of evidence going back, and he just plays around with it. I mean, actually, Jeremy, what is the matter with all these Labour politicians that don't want this discussed in any way? When we were told we were going to have a national inquiry, I thought, well, thank goodness. And of course, it's gone on and on and on. And then we find out that actually they're not going to look into the religion or culture of any of those people that are involved. And they're also not looking to prosecute anyone that covered it up.
I was, I remember I said it before on the show, I was interviewing a senior policeman from the Rochdale area years ago, and he said to me, the reason it's taken a long time, Jez, is very simply, we won't stir up division locally, you know, got to tread carefully. And I remember saying to him, so the colour of your skin determines whether you're investigated for raping an 8-year-old white girl, does it? The fact of the matter is, in Rochdale, 83% of the tax were by British Pakistani men, and for all those people who jump up and down and say, oh, that's wrong. No, that's a fact. Sadiq Khan, the reason I wanted wanted to bring this up again today is a new BBC report, blimey O'Reilly, exposes vulnerable girls are definitely being groomed and sexually exploited by gangs in the capital. And yet, well, he's not my mayor, the mayor refuses to acknowledge that. Why do you think that is, Susan?
I honestly don't know. When I asked the question originally, it wasn't one of my sort of almost catch questions, which politicians do. I genuinely wanted to know to what extent we had these gangs. I knew damn well they were there. They can't be everywhere else and not in London. And his answer was truly shocking to me because it wasn't what I expected, because it's such a serious subject. And after that clip that you played, it went around the internet. I had so many girls contact me and come and see me and talk to me and tell me about their stories. And it is truly shocking and heartbreaking. And this is why I'm so grateful to Talk and everybody else that keeps bringing this up, because this must not be allowed to just drift away again for another year or so and then be brought up again, because every day that goes by, more and more of these kids, and they're all not always girls, are being very badly abused, and we owe it to them to try and get some sort of justice for them and make sure it stops.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I had Maggie on the last 2 weeks. She won that judicial review, Maggie Oliver.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go further, Susan, and I love and admire your bravery. I don't give a damn about the colour of your skin, OK? Yeah. I don't care about your religion, OK? Two things, though. If politicians aren't prepared to accept the truth for fear of upsetting certain religions and race, they are letting down those victims. The truth of the matter is, I don't want to live in a society, I've got 6 kids, where any man of any colour or any creed thinks it's all right to rape an 8-year-old. And if we cannot call it out because Khan might be worried about upsetting a part of society, well, I'll say it, a Muslim part of society, right? And if Starmer's the same, then that's not the world that I recognise anymore. If you break the law, you break the law. Doesn't matter what colour your skin is, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly how I feel. And the stupidity of it here is that I think the rape gangs in London are different to the rest of the country in as much as they are very mixed. When I talk to the girls about their perpetrators, they're mixed groups. They're not Pakistani, all of them, by any means. So why this reluctance to discuss it? Or was he trying to catch me out and, you know, assume that I'd say Pakistani gangs?
Do you think, I mean, it might be, if you can't answer it, don't, but do you think that Sadiq Khan's theory is to protect the Muslim community in his mind?
I genuinely don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. I think for a mayor of the greatest city in the world to sit there and say, what does she mean? Why is she reluctant to say? I've never been reluctant to say anything in my life. So it's just a whole load of nonsense. And I get very frustrated. If he wants to not answer questions on these LTNs and ULEZ and things like that, that's bad enough. But to not deal with this in a robust way is unforgivable.
Is he in denial in your mind?
I genuinely don't know. I can't answer for him. And of course he would never come on your show or anybody else that might give him a hard time.
I always tell people that we can content ourselves on the knowledge that out of 12 million people in London, only 1 million voted for him. I have absolutely no idea how somebody that duplicitous and somebody that... I can't describe to him. When I listen to people like him going on about, you know, it's wrong to say, you know, migrants this and migrants that. And if you say to them, this man pretended to be, you know, 20 and he was 45, didn't bring his family, dropped his papers, came here, didn't work, and raped a young girl, they go, white men rape girls as well. Yes, they do. And all of it is fundamentally wrong. But we as a society should do something about it, shouldn't we?
Yes, we should. And our politicians need to be standing up for particularly these young girls and boys.
Yeah.
That's what politicians have thought. They are elected to speak for their constituents and stand up for their constituents. I certainly try and do that, but Sadiq Khan, people are calling for him to go. Of course he's not going to go. He'll be there for another 2 years, but I sincerely hope he's not elected back in again. When I was doing the mayoral campaign, the people on the doors were so lovely. They all wanted him gone.
Well, then get out of your house and vote, people. That's the message, isn't it, Susan?
Absolutely. And people say, oh, what difference does it make? It makes every difference. Although you've only got one vote, make that vote count, because if enough of you vote, then we'll get this man out one way or another.
Susan, it's always lovely. I really appreciate you for coming on. Leader of the Conservative group in the London Assembly, Susan Hall, live and exclusive on Talk Breakfast. News at 9, and then Labour MP Carl Turner. That'll be fun next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Fancy returning to the front line as Foreign Secretary?
I am going to return. I am going to return. To the people from whence I came.
Hello, I'm Peter Mandelson, and I'm proud to serve as His Majesty's British Ambassador to the United States of America.
I feel a tremendous sense, a profound sense of sympathy for those people, those women who suffered as a result of his behaviour and his illegal criminal activities. And secondly, I regret very, very deeply indeed carrying on that association with him for far longer than I should have done.
The Ambassador has repeatedly expressed his deep regret for his association with him. He's right to do so. I have confidence in him, and he's playing an important role in the UK-US relationship.
Mandy's out 4 decades and 3 scandals, or 3 that we know about. Guess what? Number 10 knew all about it. They knew that he lived in Jeffrey Epstein's flat.
Mandelson resigned from the Labour Party late last night over the allegations of $75,000 set of payments to him from Epstein while he was business secretary, $10,000 to his now husband, a photo of him in his pants. This isn't just bad form. There are strong arguments here for him to be facing investigation over misconduct in public office.
I knew of his association with Epstein, but had I known then what I know now, I'd have never appointed him.
Breaking news that Lord Mandelson, Peter Mandelson, has now been arrested. So Mandy and Andy have now both had their collars felt. This is the establishment, the British establishment on trial. Came to us around about 5 o'clock when we learned that we saw footage of Peter Mandelson being led out of his London home in very exclusive Regent's Park by 3 coppers.
Now we have all these allegations, we have all the documentation related to those allegations, which Downing Street is being forced to put out. The first tranche of it will be early next month.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, my friends. Just gone 9 o'clock. You would talk. It is, of course, the home of common sense and the home of the alarm clock Brits. Listen, your views on the news of the day. 0344 499 1000. Text to 87222. So much going on. You're waking up, as you've heard in the news. Peter Mandelson, first set of files released yesterday, all telling us one thing. Keir Starmer, whether it was minions, sidekicks, negotiators, administrators, the security services, everybody said this is not a good idea, giving this man the job. This will cause reputational risk to you and the government. The question this morning is, why the bloody hell did he go ahead then? How much has all these people that keep fobbing me off, how much has Mandelson got on all of them? How much will he squeal when he goes down? And then, just for all the people who get out of the bubble and think about working people, the length and breadth of this country, 75 grand taxpayers' money, tax-free, twice, 2 years of the national wage average, paid to a man who lied to get his job, was crap at it and got fired from it. Doesn't make any sense to me. That was 75 grand. The Home Office yesterday saying, you know, we've come up with a really good idea, which is to get rid of illegal migrants and families. We're going to give them 40 grand. Right, but you're not going to tell us how many people have taken taxpayers' money again. Migrant monopoly, peeps. You can come here illegally, get a house, get some money, and after 6 months you can take the 40 grand and go home to a place you left because you didn't like us, by the way. Oh, that's right. I didn't like where you came from. We're better. But then you went back with the money. Was it so bad anyway? And then you can come back again with your get out of jail free card. And you don't even have to put a hotel on it. Unbelievable. And the big news story of today, the Al-Quds March that was banned by Shabana Mahmood. Hate march, pro-Iranian, anti-Semitic, was banned on Sunday. But they found a loophole in the great old British law, peeps. They're going to stand still. And apparently, if you walk up and down a street with hateful comments and flags, that can be banned. But if you stand still with the same stuff, that's all right. And our Home Secretary is too powerless to do anything. God only wonders why. Morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Jezza. We're going to have to disagree, mate. I can't stand with you on this one. I'm for freedom of speech, no matter how abhorrent or how much I disagree with it. I'd be a hypocrite to have my cake and eat it, saying marches for this or protests for this should happen, but then protests for that shouldn't. So I agree with a static march. I also agree it shouldn't be a moving march through the streets of London. A static, I'm all for, no matter how much I disagree with it. But the real emphasis here is the Home Office needs to grow some testicles. The reason I say that is because if the IRG was a terrorist organisation, then this protest would be banned. Why is that? Because they have evidence that this protest is being organised and funded by Iran itself, a known terrorist state. So we're quick enough to recognise Palestine, but we're not quick enough to call Iran and the IRG a terrorist state. That is the bigger picture. That is the smoke and mirrors we're missing.
I've always, listen, the whole idea of the show is that people have different views. Wayne, the shortcoming in your view, and I agree with free speech as well, is later on in your call you say that there is definite proof that this protest is being funded and organised by a terrorist regime in Iran and is worryingly enough to the security of this country that the Home Office should grow a pair. I agree, but that's the very reason why it flies in the face of free speech and should be banned. It's not about free speech, it's about spreading hate. Here's a moment I'm looking forward to. Oh, I love this man. Brave. This is a Labour MP who comes on every week in his jumper. Carl Turner, good morning, sir. How are you? MP for Hull East.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Well, ask me how I am then.
How are you this morning, Jeremy?
Just recovering from Cheltenham 2 days. I think some blood's finally getting back in me alcohol stream, Carly, to be honest. Mate, I'm gonna go straight to it. I mean, you were part of the MPs who were very outspoken. I know you support Starmer in some ways, but even these initial files yesterday prove categorically that advisors, security officials, even other MPs and cabinet ministers said to him, Jonathan Powell, people you've talked about, don't bring Mandelson back. He can't survive, mate. His judgment is there wasn't any. It's shot to pieces. The man's lied to the House of Commons, Carl.
Well, look, Jeremy, I'm dumbfounded. I've got to be honest with you. I've just watched Nick Thomas Simmons, a colleague of mine, somebody who I respect, a senior minister in government, is trying to say now, the government are trying to say now that we're blaming vetting. What on earth are we talking about? Everybody knew that Mandelson had continued a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein beyond the fact that he was convicted. Even Mandelson told the PM or the PM's staff that that was the reality of the situation. But now we say the vetting process has let the job down. It's just a nonsense. It really is becoming embarrassing. I can hardly believe I'm seeing people who I respect, Nick Thomas Simmons on the media round this morning, talking of vetting. It is just unbelievable. The reality is this. The PM took advice. It was more than advice from Mr. McSweeney, in my humble opinion. I wasn't in the room, but it was probably lobbying. Why was he lobbying? Because the reality is Mandelson was his protege. That's the truth.
But
So
whether he was or he wasn't, surely the job, Carl, and you know how much I respect you, mate, because not many people stick their head above the parapet. We love having you on. This is on a man whose judgment again and again fails. And whether it's advisors or security officials, any person with any political nous, there's my new word of the morning, would know this was a mistake, and yet he makes the wrong decision again and again. I ask you this, how long are yours and other backbench Labour MPs' patience going to hold? Because plotting started already, hasn't it, Carl?
Look, the patience of the Parliamentary Labour Party is wearing thin, I'll tell you. I must be honest with you about that. We've had the by-election result where Burnham was blocked and would have won. We've now got the situation whereby Mandelson's appointment was made against advice. It was lobbied by McSweeney, in my view. The reality is the PM took a risk. The documents that were put into the public domain yesterday talked of reputational risk, risk. The PM must have looked at the pros and cons, and the reality is he was persuaded on the basis that he thought Mandelson would do a good job.
But Carl, that's my point. That's my point. Imagine we're in a pub talking about this. You used a word there, pros and cons. Can somebody in the Labour Party tell me what possible pros you are? I mean, I've heard it. Oh, he got on well with Trump. Anybody could get on well with Trump one day and not the next day. The one that was doing the job was perfectly competent. What were the pros for Keir Starmer? Because that's where, pal, that's where the conspiracy theorists start. Because they go, there's nothing that you can give me that would say that is a wise decision. So he must have what's it on all of you, because it just doesn't make sense, Carl.
Well, I think the pros was delivering the US trade deal in a way that the Prime Minister and government thought was necessary.
Yeah.
I think this has turned out to be a crap Chagos deal. I think that was probably in the frame as well. Get in there, deal with Trump, simmer him down, tell him how good this Chagos malarkey is. It turns out, with retrospect, that it was a crap deal. I think the government are going to have to bin it, thank goodness, because I don't think it's good value to the taxpayer of this country, given what we now know about the deal itself. But there's multiple things. There's bad advice, taking bad decisions. There's this jury stuff. For goodness sake, what on earth's going on? Ministers have been effectively allowing people like me who are absolutely opposed to curtailing the jury trial system in cases where you can go to jail for 3 years, and they've been doing it on the basis that we somehow are rape apologists.
But I've got to ask, mate, we're friends.
Disgusting.
We're friends,
really
but
has.
I've got to ask you this, because I've had 20 texts this morning. I'll read you Michael's. Please then, having heard Carl on your show repeatedly sounding off about the jury trials correctly, please ask Carl why he was so outspoken about scrapping them. Then why did he change his vote and vote with the government?
Well, I didn't vote with the government. I abstained. But it's not about winning the battle, Jeremy. It's about winning the war. I couldn't have marched my rebellion into that division lobby this week and expected them to stand firm, voting the bill down. It was impossible. There's too much good in the bill that we need for the criminal justice system. 90% plus is good stuff. The stuff that's absolutely appalling and abhorrent is the jury trial.
So you abstained. Did you get pressure from the Labour Party not to vote against it?
No, I had a meeting with David Lammy the very evening before. It was an hour-long meeting. It was constructive. It was robust. It included some expletives on both sides, I'll tell you now. It was a heated meeting. We discussed it for a good hour. I said I'd be prepared to march, or rather keep my rebellion at the top of the hill, to wait for the amendment stages on the promise from David Lammy that he would secure a position on the Public Build Committee of one of our number, one of the so-called rebellion. He said it was going to be a difficult thing to negotiate because the Chief Whip was unlikely to concede. He went away and came back 5 minutes later with a promise of a seat on that Build Committee. Now, that matters in parliamentary terms, Jeremy, because if you've got a natural majority in the Public Build Committee and you've got 10 or 11, 12 MPs standing up one after the other, telling the world what a fantastic policy this jury trial curtailment is, and then it gets back to the House of Commons, but more importantly to the House of Lords, the House of Lords say, well, the House of Commons think this is fantastic. We can't touch it. The reality is there'll be somebody on that Bill Committee who puts probing amendments down to allow the debate, points to the fact that the government have got absolutely no evidence that this is going to make any difference whatsoever to the weight in the criminal justice system. It's just a nonsense. This thing was pulled from thin air.
So actually, to answer that, Michael, and it's really important this, take a breath, Carl. What Carl did was he abstained and he negotiated with Lammy, and he's got one of the people, the dissenters, on to the committee that will make the decision. So that's actually good parliamentary work. Can I ask you something very quickly? How many are you on Labour benches against this jury trials thing?
I'll tell you what, the magic number is 80. We need 80 MPs.
Yeah.
I've got 67 as of the meeting with Lammy, but as it transpires, 90 abstained. So, in fact, the truth is we already have the number. And that's why, Jeremy, the government ministers and whips are now coming and saying, can we talk? Can we have a chat about this? Listen, I promise you this. I'm more confident than ever I ever have been that the worst excesses of this bill will end up in the dustbin where they belong. This is a disgusting bill. It's a disgusting policy. I'm ashamed that the Labour Party in government could ever put it to the public. I'm ashamed, truly I am, that we are where we are. But it's not just this stuff. It's this stuff that's coming out about Mandelson that's getting us down. There's a load of things that we're concerned about. But I will say something now. I want to pay tribute to one speaker in that debate, Charlotte Nichols. Charlotte Nichols waved her anonymity. A woman who is an actual victim of rape, who stood up and said, please stop weaponising victims like me. I don't want this jury curtailment stuff, and I'm a victim of the exact thing you're speaking to and saying is going to help victims like me. I'm immensely proud of that woman. I can't even begin to tell you how proud of her that I am.
Let me play that clip for people who don't know. This is a very, very powerful clip. This is Labour MP Charlotte Nichols. Watch this.
As after being raped at an event that I attended in my capacity as a Member of Parliament, I waited 1,088 days to go to court. It is because I have been raped that I'm as passionate as I am about what it means for a justice system to be truly victim-focused. It is because I have endured every indignity that our broken criminal justice system could mete out that I care what kind of reform will actually deliver justice for survivors and victims of crime more widely.
Here, you're quite right. Carl, couple of direct questions. How long does Starmer have left?
I think he's safe because there's nobody to take him on, frankly.
Safe till after the May elections?
I think he's probably safe beyond after the poor results in May. I think we're going to have some terrible results in May. I think in ordinary circumstances there'd be a challenge fairly swiftly. People like me have spoken in the Parliamentary Labour Party in his defence and said I wouldn't countenance the idea of a challenge on the Prime Minister.
Because you're scared of the alternative, because he's pretty incompetent, and you've already said that he's lied, so why would they not be plotting now to remove him?
Well, I don't think he's lied to the House of Commons. I think he's sent people into a room to ask questions of Mandelson. But the problem is, the person who came back with the answers was Matt Sweeney. And Matt Sweeney had convinced him he's still good to go. That's what I think happened.
But then the judgment is the judgment is, I'm afraid, you're employing people who aren't good enough or are lying to you. That comes, and I'm going to give you an example now. And I'm not sticking up for Boris Johnson, but he stood up and he said, and he was slaughtered when you were in charge. You were the director of public prosecutions with 7,000 lawyers under you. You allowed Jimmy Savile to get off, and I remember the indignity. All the Labour benches went up, and he said, "How am I supposed to be over every case? Because you're the goddamn boss," which is exactly what he said to Boris Johnson. You are in charge of Downing Street. You might not have seen it, but it stops at your door. This has to stop at Starmer's door, doesn't it?
This calls into question, without doubt, the judgment of the Prime Minister. And no excuse for poor vetting or anything else is going to stop that being an issue. There's no question whatsoever. It will continue drip, 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 and it will go beyond May. And we come to a point at some time in the not-too-distant future where there's a decision to be made. I don't want to see the PM gone. I think he's doing a good job on the international stage. I think he's an important factor in the relationship with America still, despite the fact that Trump says we've fallen out of love with each other for a time. I think he's still doing a job there. I think in terms of domestic policy, we need to do much, much, much better. However, will it change the dial at the moment if we change leader in terms of the polling of the Labour Party?
Can the dial ever change, or are you done as a party?
I think I'm at the point, Jeremy, where I think we might have gone past the point of no return, because we started badly, taking winter fuel and messing about and then giving it back, but not quite giving it back, but giving it back again. I don't even know where we are on most of the stuff. We then moved on beyond that. We've done some good policy, but we've got a lot badly, badly wrong, in my view. And we've squandered a massive majority where we could have said to the British public in 2029, look, we know that you didn't really give us a resounding, enthusiastic chance to govern. But we've done our best in difficult circumstances. We've turned stuff round. Give us a chance again. We didn't win the general election in 2024. Boris Johnson and Liz Truss lost it for the Tories.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Listen.
And people like me are in a job now as a result of the fact that we had a competent leader in Keir Starmer, somebody who the public were prepared to give a chance to, and up to yet, we've got too much wrong. We need to improve very dramatically. Otherwise, we'll all be going and looking for something else to do to feed the kids.
3 very quick questions. Love having. Listen, but all of my viewers and listeners, they love the fact that you're honest. 3 quick questions. Labour MPs, are they plotting right now on the backbenches, yes or no?
I think people in the cabinet are plotting. I think there's a fair number of people in the cabinet who think they're going to be the PM in 15 minutes. That's the reality.
Have you ever thought about resigning from the Labour Party? Because you've described it as this government has let people down.
I'd never leave the Labour Party. I was born into the Labour Party. Listen, the Labour Party is not some sort of fast food franchise that can be owned by the leader and allow him to be bossed around people like me, threatened with suspension. Goodness me.
Has the Labour Party left? Has the Labour Party left you, Carl? The Labour Party you knew in terms of its performance?
I'm disappointed in the most extreme way, but never will I leave the Labour Party.
Well, one thing's for sure, if the polls don't improve and you lose your job, you've got one here, mate, because there's very, very, very few Labour politicians who are either A, prepared to put their head above the parapet, or speak honestly, mate. We love having you on. Thank you so much indeed, and I'm quite liking the jumper. Carl Turner, MP, Hull East, Labour, good man, 9:22, we're live across the UK. JK on breakfast here until 10. Julia on breakfast as well. No, she's on mornings. What am I doing? Bloody brain's gone nuts. Ian Collins, the Housewife's Choice from 1, and Kev sounding great on drive time from 4 o'clock. 0344 499 1000. Alison in South Wales. Jez, please can you explain the point of a Home Secretary if Shabana Mahmood says she's powerless to stop this El-Quds rally? Not really. Am I going? Oh, right. OK, yes. Now, this is very... Are we going straight? We talked earlier a bit about the latest situation in Iran. I'm delighted to welcome our next guest, former Deputy Director and Director of Operations and Intelligence at MI6, Nigel Inster. Nigel, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Oh, blimey, I'm looking right up at you. Where's the camera? Are you all right? I feel like I'm very, very small, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Welcome to the show. Would you rather start with the situation in Iran, or would you rather start about this appalling pro-Iran hate rally? Can I ask you quickly about... Let's start with that if we can. It seems to be everywhere. I was away for 2 days. Shabana Mahmood got some plaudits for cancelling a pro-Iran hate rally that was supposed to go ahead. Backers of Tehran's murderous regime allowed to hold Al-Quds Day demonstrations. So she went, no, we're not doing it. OK, we think it's hate. Today I come into the news that a static rally, which means they don't march, they stand still waving their flags and spewing their hate, is allowed to go ahead. I've had people on saying free speech is free speech, but please explain to me why, if this is a security threat, why this bloody government doesn't do more to ban it.
Well, I'm not an expert on the intricacies of US domestic legislation for a start. My understanding is that the law does not give the government the power to ban a static rally. Whereas they do have the power to ban an actual protest march if that jeopardizes security. So I think the government's hands, as I understand it, are tied by the laws under which they operate.
I don't want to make it political with you, sir, but if you've got a majority, they proved it with British Steel, they could pass the law through the Commons within 24 hours. Do you believe, from a security point of view, Director of Operations and Intelligence at MI6, that this particular sort of march, Nigel, poses a threat, an Islamic threat to our society?
I think that's a question probably better asked to my opposite numbers in the security service, because this is, their bailiwick more than mine. I was working for an organisation that was collecting foreign intelligence. I mean, common sense suggests that the government has to take necessary steps to mitigate threats to security on the streets of the UK. How they do that is outside my wheelhouse.
In terms of what you said, you were responsible for looking at groups abroad that could be dangerous. Is that in essence a breakdown?
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
So in your time doing that, how much of it was spent looking at Islamic threats to the United Kingdom abroad?
Well, that was an issue that came into stark relief after 2001, after the attack on the Twin Towers. Yeah. I think we had been acutely aware of this threat prior to the Twin Towers, but at that point I don't think the situation was bad enough, or the political will there to address this to the extent that we subsequently had to do. During the last part of my time in government service, we were spending a lot of time working on threats from overseas groups like Al-Qaeda.
All of which, or many of the security risks that are posed by terrorist groups, funded, of course, and we know this to be a fact, by Tehran, and obviously the current situation. I'm not going to, again, ask you to get political, but the situation that's evolving in Iran isn't nice for anybody, and it shows no sign of abating. But there is definitive proof, is there not, that this regime has sponsored terrorism. Hamas, the Houthi rebels, Hezbollah, ISIS, across numerous countries for far too long, Nigel.
Well, that's absolutely true. I mean, although actually it must be said that many of Iran's kind of capabilities have rather atrophied through lack of use. And latterly, we've seen them having to rely on criminal groups to do some of the work that their own services can't do. But I mean, I think the problem with a situation we face now is the kinetic phase of the US and Israeli attacks on Iran are probably going to peter out as the number of military targets diminishes. And also, you know, the US and Israel have to conserve their munitions. And this is a point at which I think we can expect to see a considerable upsurge in asymmetric attacks, by which I mean, in essence, terrorist activities that can take place anywhere.
So do you believe that what Trump and Netanyahu have done, and their justification was, of course, you know, a nuclear weapon and that terrorism, that actually, in the end, whatever they destroy and whatever gets taken apart, the threat on the streets of countries, the length and breadth of the world, will almost intensify?
I think that's very likely, at least in the short term. I mean, nobody would be happier than me to see the back of the current Iranian regime. But I think the reality is that you know, they're going to dig in. You know, they're imbued with this ideology of grievance and martyrdom. You know, they have every incentive to prolong the conflict by creating chaos around the world by whatever means. And so I don't think that this situation is going to come to a quick or easy end.
They must have known that when they went in, though, that those cells, and we've talked about, you know, terrorist cells in this country and other countries, might well be, you know, inspired or encouraged to attack. Do you, I know you're going to say you don't do it, but I mean, just as a layperson, do you believe that, and it's such a difficult question, this, well, it's not difficult, people worry about the answer. Do you think an attack on British UK soil is imminent? Do you think the terror threat it has risen because of what's happened in Iran?
That's very difficult to say. I mean, I think one of the problems we have in the UK is that the Iranian regime tends to afford the UK much greater importance than we probably deserve in today's world. We are, in effect, the small Satan to the USA's great Satan. And I think this raises our profile in the Iranian regime's eyes. We've seen a lot of planned attacks in recent years. Ken McCallum at MI5 has talked about this against Iranian journalists operating in the United Kingdom and seen by the regime as dissidents and adversaries. And the fact that we harbour, allow such people to live and operate here, raises our profile in their eyes.
And that again goes back, and it's not a political comment, that goes back to the very beginning of our conversation, this Al-Quds march on Sunday. I personally, this is your opinion, but I personally do not understand why this government will not, with its huge majority, instigate legislation in 24 hours to ban marches, which we need to get beyond labelling them as hate marches. They are part of a terrorist network. They are not healthy and they should be dealt with. And it worries me from a personal point of view, just in terms of the country, that those aren't going ahead. Are you glad you're out of it now, or do you miss it?
Of course I miss it. Of course I miss it. I always will.
Very honest. Really good to have you on as well, my friend. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Nigel Inkster, former Deputy Director and Director of Operations and Intelligence at MI6. He made the point. It's backing up what we've said for ages. You might agree or disagree with Trump and Netanyahu. We should or we shouldn't have been involved in those strikes. They might or might not win the war. It might go on forever. There are sleeper cells in the United Kingdom, and there are terrorists who undoubtedly would use whatever they can to attack. But the truth of the matter is, and this is the question for the last half an hour, the Al-Quds march. Why the bloody hell doesn't Shabana Mahmood stand up and go, I don't care if it upsets certain sections, that we are banning that. They will be rounded up, whether they're static or marching, put in a van and taken away, because it is not only hate, it's terrorist ideology. That's the whole point. Morning, Rob.
Jez, I'm sorry, mate, but, you know, some of these people come on and, you know, you're great at your job, but they don't ever give you answers. Badnock was pathetic yesterday. She took a few steps forward and got better, but she couldn't have got any worse. Our questioning yesterday was schoolyard stuff, and the fool opposite just refuses to answer, but our questions were ineffective and blunt. And I watch every single question, Prime Minister's question time. It was pathetic yesterday. It's pathetic as some of the guests you've had on this morning. People who just refuse to just see it how it is, tell the truth.
and the country would be a much better place and politicians wouldn't be so badly thought of. Pathetic. Oh, I wouldn't say that. I can't use the word liar. A liar's a liar. When you know that that person knew the answer to the question and said something different, it's a lying. It's kids' stuff. But no, let's just pretend and we'll have to listen to them all, the patheticness of them. And at the same time, we'll let a march go ahead on Saturday. Well, it's not a march anymore. You can stand still and just hate. And imagine what that's telling the rest of the nutcases who march every weekend.
When conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The UK on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
25 to 10, welcome back. This is Talk Breakfast. So my young children are not at school today because they're going for their jabs. Little Ollie Bolly, Oliver William, Robin Carr, he'll be as brave as anything because he's a big boy. Iris will go, shut up, when they try and put the needle in. Good luck, guys. Thinking of you. 0344 499 1000. I want to say good morning to. We never get enough time. Samara Gill, hello.
Hello. How are you?
Well, I'm just returning from Cheltenham, and
You're looking refreshed. I was expecting a hungover Kyle sort of on the desk like that.
No, I'm not like that. But I do think some blood is finally getting back into my alcohol stream. It was an interesting moment. And you hang out with sort of Luke Littler. It was an interesting thing. But we had a few winners. But my son had Henry's had about 7 or 8 of them. Not that I'm condoning gambling. How are you? Are you all right?
I'm good. I just shared a lift with Harry Cole. Is he going to be on your show tomorrow?
Well, I didn't even know he was here.
Yeah, he's in the country.
Is he been extradited or something? Get Cole on tomorrow, the lazy git. Can I see you hooked up with Luke Littler at Cheltenham. He won big again, but this time on the GG, says Keith in Oxford Street. I have to read a couple of these. You don't mind, do you? Because these people are very, very nice. Well, tough. Keith Alderson says, I fully accept the reasons for abstaining. I never voted Labour, but if Carl Turner stood in my era, I would vote for him. He's a proper politician. Pete says, if Carl Turner were PM, they might just have a chance. The only problem is that he's Labour, and Labour does not stand for the ordinary British person anymore. Jez, busy morning. How thick is Sadiq Khan? 170 grand a year. He's not worth 170 pence. Bill in Groombridge, Crowborough, yeah. Russell, Derbyshire. Morning, Jez. Following on from your last caller, of course there are public order offences that can be used against these standing protesters. Remember the woman who was arrested for praying in her own head near an abortion clinic in London? I do. And Kevin Macclesfield. Have you been to Macclesfield?
Not yet.
Oh, it's a place. This terrorist march should go ahead, then round the buggers up, put them on a plane and take them back to the country they support. We don't need them here. I don't care if they're born here. They support terrorists. They can go live with them. It's going to ask you actually as an Australian, right? As an Australian.
Okay,
right?
I'll put that hat on.
We we've banned a hate march because we know it's prescribed. Well, not the wrong word, but it's in. Oh, sorry, there's me and Luke Littler. We're allowed to believe, and we're told that, terrorist inspiration comes to them. We're going to ban them. This was Tuesday when I was at Cheltenham. I thought, well done, Shabana. But today we find out that they've got round this by statically standing.
Yes, and don't you worry,
Look at me and Luke Littler on that picture. I look a bit I look drunk in that photograph, don't I? I look absolutely bladdered in that picture.
You look decent.
Do you know why he's got a rucksack? He's got 10 grand in the back of it.
How did you know that?
Because he won.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I tried to nick it off him.
You should have just passed your hand around the back.
Honestly, the hair's wafted, the eyes are skew with. I am looking about 3 sheets to the wind. Anyway, there we go.
Look,
how can we allow a march to go ahead statically that's not a march? Isn't it rubbish, the whole thing?
I mean, I don't know. The thing is, my initial position on this was actually that these marches are quite useful for the intelligence services because it does enable them to see just who the extremists are, take their list down, start monitoring, and essentially assess who's in this country, because in the Iranian embassy kind of reports that I've gone on, I have seen people that have driven past, assaulted them, and praised the Ayatollah. And the fact that we have these people in our country is concerning in the first place. So in a way, for the intelligence services, quite a good method. Also, there are lots of online forums before they meet there. That's how they organise them. And those lists are very useful for them. So, yeah, I mean, I'll be at that standing situation.
Don't walk. But you do understand the argument that says if it's wrong for you to march up and down with a flag spewing anti-Semitic hatred, then what's the difference between standing still and spewing that hatred whilst you wave a flag?
Well, they're conniving, aren't they? They'll always find a way around it. I mean, Shabana's doing, I guess, as much as she can.
Change the law, man. You've got a 180-seat majority. You brought in a rule. You brought in a law overnight with British Steel. Bring one in about this if you're genuine. Stop pandering to a certain race.
Well, my issue is if they change the law, this Labour government, who knows what they'll use it for? Are they going to use it to ban pro-Britain marches?
Well, hold on a second, but you see, you and I are going to have our first professional argument. That's true. But you already see footage of a Palestinian hate march going by and one poor bloke with a Union Jack being told by 6 coppers that he's stirring up hate. It's imbalanced.
Yes, but people should be able to express themselves. I know...
All sides, but it's gone the other way. Come on, you've got to accept that. It has gone
the other way, but I think it's quite important that we see that this is what the United Kingdom has become. It's almost worse
but if they do anything about it...
Sure, but I mean, I don't think it's the right thing because this Labour government should not be given more control into banning things. That's my bottom line there. But it pains me to say because I'm going to use I hate these people who love the Ayatollah, but that's the Britain we're living in. That's who we've imported, and that's who we've also at home bred up into loving this. It's a lot of second-generation people that are wistful about the homeland.
I don't disagree. I just don't think the optics are good. Now, we're going to talk about Polanski in a bit, but you've got an exclusive for me.
I do.
What's this?
Look, a lot of people listening and watching will know this person. It's Harman Singh. He is the guy who went totally viral over Twitter. Yep. He said his restaurant is proudly non-halal.
It's an Indian restaurant.
It's an Indian restaurant. He's a Sikh man. It's actually against his religion to eat halal, specifically because of how halal slaughter treats animals.
That's his religious spear. Yeah, well, I know that.
Apparently, it's not his right because he has been subject to eggs being thrown at his restaurant. He's had a protest outside, all because of a little sign about this size, about an A4 sheet of paper. It's just saying we're proudly non-halal. So I actually got the exclusive interview with him. He hasn't spoken to anyone else. It's gone around the world. Pakistani, US, Indian, UK media, everyone's covering it. But he actually spoke to us. Let's hear what he had to say on the abuse and threats that he received because of this piece of paper.
We are being intimidated by peaceful community around the clock. Our restaurant number is buzzing non-stop.
Fake bookings.
And they are booking fake bookings on our website, on other platforms. So the right people who want to come, they are not able to contact us. We are losing business, but that's not the problem. But the thing is, we are not going to lose our country to these people.
Can I just salute Cal, who sits there every day and does the straps for this show? This is genius. Halalabaloo. I can't even say it. Halalabaloo. Halalabaloo.
Look,
I'm not going to ask you how you got into his restaurant because you're going to get angry with me. Genius, mate. Genius.
Yeah, I've got some aggressive tactics. Let's
Well, it's
just
not
say.
aggressive. It's genius. It's
No,
great.
he was, he was lovely, and
Yeah.
his wife, his family, his daughter's been followed, harassed. As I may remind you, this is just for him stating a dietary requirement. This is how some factions of the Muslim community can be when they're not mollycoddled and told that we're going to pander to their every need.
What, like a grooming gangs inquiry, you mean?
Well, he said, and I actually have
hate march.
recordings of groomers from London, grooming gangs people, calling his wife and threatening to assault him and his daughter. And they stated, I am from the grooming gangs pact and I will do this to you. He's had his life absolutely turned upside down. As you can see, he's been egged. The shimmer of hope is that actually a lot of British, sort of white British males, weirdly, it's just, that's how it is, if you look on his social media, have actually been coming to help him, driving from over 4 hours away to eat at his restaurant. He was so heartened by the community's
Where is
response.
his restaurant?
It's in Hammersmith.
Okay.
Just in London. It's called Rangres. I highly recommend it. Really good,
Did you
really
eat
good
there?
Indian food. Yeah, I did. Had a great meal, and he gave me a free gin and tonic. So he's a lovely man.
Did you go on your own or did you go with somebody else?
I went on my own. Yeah, it was pretty sad. If anyone does want to join,
No,
my
don't
email's
say- don't say
in
that.
my bio.
No, don't say that, no.
Let's...
Listen, I should teach you. I made a mistake once when I on national television said all this argument about your PIN number. I just do my birthday, and but the editor went in my head. You've just told 2 million people how to get money out of your account. Never give out your details. That's a fantastic piece of work. And have they got more than one clip?
Yeah, so I just want to sort of end this on a positive note because he was meant to close down his restaurant and now he's going to stay open.
Good.
So let's listen to what he's had to say about not backing down.
When I die, they kill me. My kids promise me, Dad, we'll keep that sign there. This is the point of resistance. This is where everything changes. I was not aware that I'm going to post this sign, is making so much stir. But now I think it was needed. Everybody was calling to ban halal from long time. But that's it. Nobody took second step.
Seriously, respect to that man and respect to you for getting it. Harman Singh put up a non-halal restaurant sign in front of his restaurant, just being honest. He's since been met with a wave of abuse. He's had his restaurant egged, he's had stuff thrown at his premises, he's been abused, he's been followed, but he's remaining firm. He gave the exclusive, I'm not telling you why, to Samara Gill. What's the name of his
That makes it
restaurant?
sound worse. It's called Rangres and it's
She can
been
highly
viewed-
recommend the gin and tonic. Was it a normal gin and tonic? What's your favourite gin?
Hendrick's gin. It's a
Okay,
nice
and
one.
what about the tonic?
Oh God, any. I'm not fussy. Bit of Fever
Let's
Tree.
do what? Yes. Now, before you go, and the thing about doing this is that somebody will have a go at me doing this to you, but I've been doing it since 6:15 this morning. I think it is our absolute duty as unbiased broadcasters to call out what the Green Party actually are. These people want to legalise heroin. These people want to open borders. The man that runs them is a nut job. Now, I don't know if you know about this. Zack Polanski was known as a man who was a hypnotherapist and could make women's breasts grow.
Oh, I'm well aware.
Right, wonder how she got that interview. 10 years ago, The Sun put an undercover reporter who went along for an appointment. Since he's become popular and he's second in the polls, he's gone, no, I don't stand by any of that. That's problematic to discuss. Do you want to hear the interview from 10 years ago? When this is, ladies and gentlemen, Hypnotits on growing breasts, BBC Humberside 2013. This is our Zach with the teeth. Have a listen.
An article in The Sun last week where a client came to see me who was a journalist, and we had a successful project. We've done it a couple of times, and there seems to be no shift, but actually increasingly more and more as I work with people, there's starting to become anecdotal evidence, at least, of growth in breast size.
But not from last week, though. I assume.
Yes, actually, with her breast size in the Sun article, she says that she grew 4 inches. It didn't change her cup size. She stayed the same cup size, but she said it was a tighter fit.
So they actually grew?
Yep, according to a journalist.
Samara, as a journalist, your response, because we're really confused. Damon has been confused all morning. Anecdotal evidence of breast increase. What does that mean?
I guess it means that her breasts grew. I mean...
4 inches, is that 2 inches either side? Because if it was 4 inches one side, everybody'd be falling like that, wouldn't they? You'd be walking wonky.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, did they just grow that, like, forward? I don't know. I mean...
If you're on YouTube, she said, do that again. Is it that way or is it that way?
I don't know. I need the details, and I really would say...
My mother's would have been that way, but she's dead, so we can't do that. What?
Zack should come on the show and justify these claims. And we do call him a plank, we call him a lunatic. Yes, he's that, but he's a smart one. I've got to say, he's essentially using the same tactics that he used on these women on the country. And you can see that with his craven chutzpah in how he's been campaigning, making sure that he vilifies Churchill, making sure that, you know, he tells people one community one thing about the trans community, another about Muslims.
But that is what we have to call out, surely, as broadcasters, because if you're telling, and all politicians do it, but he is riding the crest of a wave. The truth of the matter is, he's a liar. You can say he's doing... I mean, look, Ed Davey won 72 seats in the last election because he concentrated on certain seats. I still, to this day, don't know what a Liberal Democrat policy is. But I do think it's important to call him out. But 4 inches, Damon's going to go and have a session with him as well. You said we had his man boobs.
Oh, right, yes.
Why, what did you think I was saying?
No.
Do you want to say
can he shrink them too?
Can you what?
Can he shrink boobs? That's also... I mean, I've just got so many questions, Zack. It's just, we've got your number. I've been texting you. I'm sure Jeremy's been texting you too.
I'm not texting. What, you basically want Zack Polanski, yeah?
Yeah,
come on, Zack.
Come on the show.
What do you want to talk to him about?
A litany of things. I want to ask him why Mothin Ali's wife wears a niqab. Interesting, that. I mean, women's rights, yes. No, it's a joke, that party, but it's a scary joke. It's becoming a dark comedy.
Great bit of work with Harman Singh. Thank you very much indeed. Great comments on Zack Polanski. Damon's off to have a test with him later. Hopefully that'll grow. And are you back tomorrow? Where are you off to today? Are you doing anything exciting?
Oh, I'm doing so many exciting things. But I will be at that protest that we spoke about over the weekend, and I'll get you the full report for that.
Don't walk. Stand still. If you walk, do you get arrested? There's the thing, by the way. There's a question. If static is now OK, if you walk 3 feet, would the police arrest you or would they be too busy doing the Macarena?
What about 3 inches? Can I get away with that? Okay.
I'm not saying the same. 10 to 10.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side.
Welcome back, 8 minutes to 10. Can I just please reiterate, this is such a fantastic opportunity to win 2 hospitality tickets to the British Grand Prix. It is, of course, Sunday, the 5th of July, the full Racing Green experience. You will get it all, my friends. Exclusive grandstand seats. You get paddock village corners, access to watch the drivers inside. You get the bus, the hospitality bus. They'll throw in food and drink. It's an open bar. There'll be music. It's an unbelievable chance. If you've never been to the British Grand Prix or any Grand Prix, it is an absolutely amazing experience. The British Grand Prix, 2 hospitality VIP tickets, Sunday, the 5th of July. This is how you can win, my friends.
For your chance to win, Text TALK to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. Or call 0343 418 7260. Lines closed 20th of March 2026 at 4 p.m. That's when you need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talk.tv/win. So for your chance to win, text TALK to 83338 now.
Welcome back. 7 minutes to 10. Let's get on the phone lines. Leicester, Roy, good morning. 1 minute on Talk Breakfast. How you doing, kidder?
All right, young man. Glad to see you still got a shirt on your back after Cheltenham.
What did you say?
Glad to see you still got a shirt on your back after Cheltenham.
Well, I'm off to see Zack Polanski. I won't have my shirt on, will I? Yeah, no, I'm all right. I didn't gamble.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't drink. I didn't smoke. I didn't do anything wrong at all. Promise, you know. No.
God, it sounded like that. You'd make a good Prime Minister.
Ooh. What do you want to say, kidder?
Right, there already is a law in place for this so-called standing demonstration. It's called the law of unlawful assembly.
All right.
And it's there for if it causes people nearby a reasonable fear of violence or serious disorder.
The unlawful assembly law. And so what we're saying is this government won't enact it because they don't want to upset certain people, right?
Exactly, because it's there to protect people against causes of reasonable fear of violence or serious disorder. And that was the reason they banned the walking march. So it's the same legislation, it's the same law. So they can ban it. It's the law of unlawful assembly.
They just obviously don't want to, mate. That's patently obvious. Listen, great to have you on. Spread the word about Talk. Thank you so much indeed. That is Roy in Leicester, 0344 499 1000. Julia here from 10. Get your calls in nice and early to her. Ian from 1 and Kev O'Sullivan on Drive this afternoon from 4. That's your Talk lineup.
When conflict breaks out anywhere in the world, it has consequences here at home. Talk War is your definitive national security briefing. From the conflict in Ukraine to the tensions in Gaza and the latest escalation with Iran, this is where you'll find comprehensive comment and expert analysis with multiple updates throughout the day. The Talk War podcast from Talk, available on the Talk app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, she winds me up. Welcome. Julia Hartley, we were all saying, how's your hangover? I said, I haven't got one. I said, I was drinking with Luke Littler and Zara Phillips. She went, how ghastly. Before we talk about boobs...
I'm sure they're lovely.
Before we talk about boobs...
Do we have to... Can we talk about Peter Mandelson? Talk about an important story?
Well, he's a boob. Morning, Boz.
Morning, JK. Travelling Boz here. First of all, that Polanski fella, he's got so much superpowers, he'll be joining the Avengers or the X-Men in their next adventure. As for this static march that they've said can go ahead because they're not moving. So they've got to march there in the first place because of a loophole. Guarantee you that loophole will be closed the next time the British Patriots get together.
Yeah.
And
Very interesting, Jules, isn't it? Because you do actually have to mark. I mean, ludicrous. Somebody just said there's an assembly.
There are different rules regarding marches and actually a protest, but a protest outside the Home Office. Again,
what does it say about us, though, mate?
It does. It's empathic suicide, I believe what I call people call it. Suicidal empathy. It is just like we're just giving away. We think we're being liberal. We're not being liberal. They're absolute madness.
And Mandelson, 75 grand for lying to get the job and being crap at the job and being fired from the job.
I'm angry about that 75k. I want my 75k back.
Do you know how much he asked for?
Yes.
£547,000.
The reputational damage. They said, well, apparently